Hello everyone, welcome back. Get comfortable, relax, and enjoy today's exciting fanfic. Now, let's begin part 1. A lone figure stood on top of the Hokage monument looking out over the village with an angry glare. This figure was dressed in a long-sleeved black shirt, black Anbu pants, and black ninja sandals and stood at 4 foot and 8 inches. He had a kunai pouch strapped to his right thigh and a red Anbu mask in the shape of a fox covering his face with short, spiky blonde hair. Under the mask he had 3 whisker marks on each cheek and his eyes were a crimson red with the pupils looking like a 3-pointed shuriken with 3 black bars extending from the center of the eye. Think Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan except with the black bars like Madara has. This was 10-year-old Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki to the Kyuubi no Kitsune. As Naruto stared out over the village that he despised with every fiber of his being. He heard the low rumbling coming from his mind letting him know the Kyuubi was finished with his meeting with his siblings. Naruto had met the Kyuubi 3 years ago and the two had been partners ever since. Naruto had just lost consciousness from the most recent beating he suffered by the bastards of the Leaf Village. He slowly awoke to find himself in a sewer-like place. Looking for a way out, Naruto started following the tunnel he was in to find an exit. Coming to a door that led to an even larger room, Naruto stepped in to find a large cage with a seal on the door keeping it locked. As Naruto stepped closer, a large pair of red eyes appeared with a slit pupil. So the jailer finally visits his prisoner. Spoke a voice from behind the gate. You must be the Kyuubi, which means we are in my mindscape then. Naruto said looking around the room. You're not as stupid as you let everyone believe you are. The fox spoke. I hide a lot from the power-hungry fools of this village and I will continue to do so until I can find a way to destroy this village and all of those who treat me like shit. Naruto spoke glaring at the fox who had made himself visible. Why do you want to destroy this place? The fox asked staring at the blonde even though he knew the answer. Everyone here treats me like shit except for 3 people. The old monkey and the other ninjas simply see me as a tool to release on their enemies should the need arise. I have seen the way everyone looks at me from the looks of anger and hate from the villagers to the looks of power from Hiruzen and the council. I will bide my time until I can get stronger and then I will wipe this village and everyone in it off the face of the earth. Naruto replied getting a grin from the large fox. I like you Kit. I think we can get along real well. How about we make a deal? The fox asked getting a raised eyebrow from Naruto. What kind of deal and how do I know I can trust you? Naruto asked knowing that foxes were natural tricksters. Because I can tell you something that involves your mother. Replied the Kyuubi getting a surprised look from Naruto as the blonde motioned for the fox to continue. I will lend you my power freely whenever you need it if you find a way to free me. I know that removing me from you will kill you in the end. So I will wait until you can find a way to remove me from this seal without killing yourself in the process. Also I want access to your senses which will allow me to know what is going on outside while also heightening your senses as well. I can agree to that and it will help me in the long run as well. Naruto said before the Kyuubi instructed him to remove a small portion of the seal. Now what can you tell me about my Ka-chan? She is alive Kit. I was sealed in her before you and part of my chakra is still with her. Due to this, I can sense my chakra is still in the village but I can't pinpoint the exact location. It's more than likely being suppressed by some kind of seal. I would suggest that over the next couple of years, you try and find her location and then we can take your mom and leave this village and head for Uzushio, the home of the Uzumaki clan. After that, we can train you to be strong enough to take down this village for good. Explained the fox getting a nod from Naruto. Anything else before I go? Naruto asked. Yes, 3 more things actually. I want you to sign the fox summoning contract and become the new fox summoner. Members of the fox clan specialize in different things. Some of us are good at stealth, while others are good at combat. The fox said as the scroll appeared in front of Naruto as he signed it in blood before it disappeared. Over the past couple of years, I have been able to contact my siblings with an old technique and when you leave, my younger sisters, Matabi the 2-tailed demon cat and Chome the 7-tailed beetle, and their Jinchuriki want to come with you. Chome's Jinchuriki is treated worse than you and Matabi's Jinchuriki has it better than you do here but she is tired of her village wanting to use her for a weapon and nothing else. Quote. And finally, The next time one of the Uchiha attack you, kill them and take their eyes if they have the Sharingan unlocked and try to find a pair that are blue-eyed like you. After that I can place an illusion of one of the doctors and have them transplant them so we'll have a dojutsu but without any of the side effects thanks to my chakra and your healing ability. You will even be able to turn them off like a normal Uchiha. This way you will have more power when it comes to destroying this village. Alright, I will work on finding my Ka-chan and obtaining a pair of Sharingan. Tell your siblings we will contact them when we begin our plans. Thank you Kyuubi, Naruto said with a bow of respect. My name is Kurama Kit, replied Kurama with a smile. Thank you Kurama, Naruto said as he faded away. After that meeting with the large fox, Naruto had found his mother thanks to the help of the Fox clan. He had also obtained a pair of Sharingan and already they had become the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan thanks to Kurama's chakra. He had talked to the 3 people he knew truly cared for him in the village. The Ichiraku father and daughter duo along with the cat Anbu Yugao. After telling the 3 what he planned, all 3 had vowed to go with him when he left the village. Yugao had even offered to help him escape the place and get his mother out of the village as well. A couple of the fox summons had already escorted the Ichiraku family out of the village and were waiting for the others a few miles away. You ready Kurama? And have you contacted Yugito and Fu yet? Naruto asked his friend and partner. Naruto had met the Jinchuriki of the 2 and 7-tailed beast shortly after meeting Kurama when the 3 beasts pulled their Jinchuriki with them to the shared mindscape to introduce the 3. I have been ready for this for a long time now Kit. Let's get your mother and get the hell out of this village. Yes I have contacted both of them. They will meet us at the port in the land of hot water in a few hours and then we will move on to Uzushio from there. Replied the fox getting a mental nod from Naruto as a figure landed beside him. Ready Nei-chan? Naruto asked looking toward Yugao. Of course Ototo, ready when you are. Yugao replied as they both disappeared in a swirl of leaves. The 2 reappeared in front of the Hokage tower after Hiruzen and the Anbu had retired for the night. Where is your mother being held at Naruto? Yugao asked. Hiruzen has her locked up in a room about 3 floors below the cage tower. From the information I have been able to gather, they have her in a medically induced coma and were planning on using her for breeding to continue the Uzumaki line for their own gain. Naruto said as he made a set of hand signs and slammed his hand to the ground. Summoning Jutsu. In a large plume of smoke, Kurama appeared with a large smile on his face showing his pair of razor-sharp teeth. Give them hell Kurama, Naruto thought as Kurama started destroying buildings. I have been wanting to do this for so long now, Kurama said as he began destroying things. As the ninja of the Leaf Village started moving to attack him, he used his paws to crush them and his tails to knock them away. As the large fox continued his rampage, he noticed some of the ninja moving out of his way. His instincts immediately went off and he turned around to see a large black staff coming at his face. He brought a paw up and caught the staff before looking at the wielder. I am so glad you decided to join us, you old monkey. Now this will be even more fun to destroy you and this damn village. Leaf Ninja, attack! Hiruzen yelled as his ninja started firing off jutsu and weapons at the Kyuubi. Kurama let the attacks bounce off him as he focused on the only one who could actually damage him, the 3rd Hokage. Kurama opened his mouth as a large black ball of energy appeared. But before the fox could fire the Bijudama, he felt the summoning starting to weaken signaling that Naruto was out of the village. You are lucky this time. Next time I see you, you will die. Kurama growled before vanishing in a poof of smoke. Inu. Hiruzen yelled as a dog-masked Anbu agent landed near him. That smoke means that the Kyuubi was part of a summoning jutsu. Find the Uzumaki brat and bring him in. Hiruzen commanded as Inu vanished. HHH. Naruto and Yugao busted through the tower doors and Naruto made his way to the seal that would reveal the staircase that would lead them to his mother. That looks like a blood seal Ototo. How are you going to get past that? Yugao asked as Naruto pulled a small vial from his pocket. The hospital has blood from everyone in the village stored away. With the help of Kurama and a few illusions, it wasn't that hard to get some blood that belongs to the aged monkey. Naruto explained getting a nod from Yugao. The door opened and the 2 quickly made their way down the stairs. Coming to the end of the staircase, Naruto opened the door at the end to find his mother still in her induced coma. She was dressed in a white sleeveless blouse and had green dress on over that reached her ankles. Naruto stepped forward and his hand began to glow with the crimson chakra of the Kyuubi. Placing his hand over his mother's stomach, the chakra entered her system without any problems. With the Kyuubi's chakra that was already in her system along with the chakra from Naruto, she started to stir as demonic chakra started pushing the drugs out of her body. She woke up and slowly sat up while rubbing her eyes. Her eyes widened when she heard a voice speak up. "Ka-chan, are you okay?" Naruto asked as he stepped closer to his mother. Kushina studied the blonde-haired boy for a few moments. "Naruto, but how? How are you already grown up? You were only born yesterday." Kushina replied, not understanding what was going on. Naruto made a quick set of hand signs before placing his hand on his mother's forehead. Fox art. Memory transfer. Kushina saw everything that had happened in Naruto's life over the last 10 years. From growing up and wondering who his parents were, to the beatings by the civilians and ninja of the village, to the partnership with the Kyuubi and vowing to destroy the leaf. When the memories were done, she quickly pulled the blonde into a hug as tears leaked from her eyes. "I am so sorry, Masuko. Masuko means son in Japanese. I wanted to be there for you and watch you grow up. Thank you for protecting him, Yugao," Kushina said through tears, getting a nod from the purple-haired woman. "I swear I am going to kill all of them for treating you the way they did and wanting to use me as a baby factory." Kushina growled out. "We will do it together, Ka-chan, but for right now we need to get out of here. Kurama is currently distracting the ninja and we need to leave before the summoning jutsu wears off," Naruto said as he summoned a large three-tailed purple fox and helped his mother on its back until she had time to get her strength back after lying down for 10 years. Naruto and Yugao pulled their masks back on as the small group exited the cage tower and headed for the main gate. As they neared the gate guards were still at their post, not wanting to get in the fight with the Kyuubi. Naruto and Yugao both disappeared in a shunshin and reappeared behind the two. "Make sure you tell Hiruzen that the leaf will burn," Naruto growled out as the two gate guards were knocked unconscious. With that done, Naruto released the summoning as the large kitsune vanished in a poof of smoke as the group made their way from the village. HHH. It had been about 4 hours since Naruto and the others had left the village. After leaving the gates of Konoha, they had quickly met up with Tsuki and Ayame before leaving for the hot water village. Tsuki, Ayame, and Kushina were all three on the back of a large fox as they all headed for their destination at top speed. It had been relatively quiet for the trip so far. Deciding he had enough of the silence, Naruto spoke to his mother. "Ka-chan, can I ask you something?" Naruto asked the redhead to receive a nod in return. "Kurama told me a lot about you, but he never said who my father was and he would never tell me anything about him. Can you tell me anything about him?" Naruto asked. Kushina had a frown on her face for a few moments as she stayed silent. She let out a sigh, deciding to be truthful with her son. "I won't lie to you, Masuko, your father was a power-hungry bastard. Your father is Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage of Konoha. I was sent to Konoha after Uzushio was destroyed during the Third War. A few years after I was there, I learned that I would be the second Jinchuriki for Kurama as his first host. Mito Uzumaki, and wife of the first Hokage, was dying. She had nothing but good things to say for about the village and the first two Hokage. However, when Hiruzen took over, it all changed. All he wanted was power and for his village to be number one. When he chose Minato as the next Kage, Hiruzen along with Jiraiya the Toad Sage, trained Minato into the same thing, power-loving fools. I was forced into the marriage by the council of the village in order to keep the Uzumaki line going, though the only thing they were wanting were to try and breed stronger ninja. I never loved Minato nor did I want to be part of that marriage. The only good thing that came from that was you, Naruto-kun. Once I found out I was pregnant with you, I was happiest I had been since the war. During the pregnancy, I decided I would leave after you were born and take you with me and leave that village behind for good. But with the attack the night of your birth, you know how everything turned out. Now, we train to get stronger, rebuild Uzushiogakure, and take down the leaf." Kushina explained as the others listened to what she said. Once you can fully control my power kit, the Leaf Village won't stand a chance against us. Plus, if we can truly rebuild Uzushio to its former glory, the Konoha will never stand a chance. I also wanted to let you know that we are arriving at our meet-up spot and I can sense both your mates. They have already sensed my chakra and will be here in just a moment. Kurama said, laughing at the way the blonde blushed and stuttered. What's wrong, Masuko? Kushina asked, noticing Naruto's face. Just Kurama being a pervert. He also said we are arriving and Yugito and Fu are here as well. Naruto said as they landed near the docks. The group waited for a minute before two girls landed near them. The first was a girl that stood about 4 feet and 4 inches, had mint green hair, and orange eyes. She had on a white short-sleeved shirt, a pair of black shorts, and black sandals. The other was a blonde-haired, dark-eyed girl that stood about 5 foot even. She had on a purple shirt, black pants, and black ninja sandals. Naruto smiled to the two as they walked towards him. I'm glad you both made it, Naruto said as he introduced the two to the people with him. As he did, he noticed his mother had a small smirk on her face. Now I see what Kurama must have been saying to you, Naruto-kun. Kushina said, getting a blush from Naruto. Chome and I didn't have a problem since we live out of the village and no one ever bothers us. Fu said. Matabi and I had no problems either once we slipped out of the gates. Although I'm sure the Raikage will be pissed when he realizes one of his Jinchuriki are gone. Yugito said with a small smirk. Naruto started to look around before Yugao spoke up. What are you looking for, Ototo? We need to find a boat that will take us to Uzushio. Naruto replied before Kushina put a hand on his shoulder. We don't need a boat, Naruto-kun. The Uzumaki placed seals around water's edge of all the countries that surround Uzushio. There are seals in the land of fire, water, lightning, hot water, and frost villages. With a small amount of chakra we will be teleported directly to the gates of Uzushio. We set this up in case we were ever without transportation back to the village. Kushina explained as she led the group to the end of the large dock. She channeled chakra into her feet once she made it to the end of the dock as a seal started to glow. She motioned for everyone to step around as she focused on the seal. Off to Uzushiogakure we go, Kushina said with a smile as the group disappeared from sight. It had been 6 years since Naruto and the others had left their villages and made Uzushio their new home. When they first arrived, the village was completely barren and run down. Naruto was unsure of how they would rebuild the village with only 7 people and the Fox clan to fix the place up. His worries were put to rest, however, as Kushina activated a seal that quickly spread around the Whirlpool village, repairing everything. After the seal was done, the village looked as if it had never been destroyed in the first place. Kushina had taken up the role of Uzukage as her and the others looked for people to bring into their new home. They offered civilians, missing nins, and anyone else who wanted a second chance in life or needed a place to live a home in Uzushio. The hidden Whirlpool village quickly started growing back to its former glory. During the time they were gathering people for the village, Kushina and Yugao trained the 3 Jinchuriki to become the best ninja they could be. Yugao also received training from Kushina to better her Kenjutsu, since Kushina was known for her Fuinjutsu and Kenjutsu skills. Kushina was able to hold her own against 3 of the 7 swordsmen of the mist at once, and while Yugao wasn't nearly as strong as her new Kage, she was quickly getting better at her sword skills. It took them about 2.5 years to finally get enough people to start up the village again, and the village had been doing extremely well ever since. We currently find Kushina in her office with Team Yugao standing in front of her desk. Naruto had grown to stand at an even 6 foot tall. He still had his short spiky blonde hair and had a red headband with the Uzushio swirl on the metal plating. He wore a dark blue, short-sleeved t-shirt with a red Uzumaki swirl on the back. He had on a pair of black pants with a few pockets on the legs with black ninja sandals. On his back was a katana that Kushina had made for him. It had a crimson blade with a fox design going up the blade with orange wrappings around the grip. Over top of all this he wore a gray hoodie that had the hood pull up with a sleeping dark purple furred, 2-tailed fox on his head. This was Kiyomi, Naruto's personal fox summon. Fu stood on Naruto's right side. She had grown to stand at 5 feet and 5 inches and was now the first summoner of the insect summoning clan. She had on a red handband just like Naruto and was wearing a white sleeveless shirt that showed part of her stomach. She had on a white skirt that stopped at mid-thigh with a pair of black shorts on underneath and a pair of white ninja sandals. She had kept her hair short and had it back out of her eyes with a couple of orange hair clips. Strapped to the back of her waist was 2 daggers with one grip sticking out from each side for easy drawing. Yugito stood on Naruto's left side. She had grown to 5 feet and 10 inches and was the summoner for the Demon Cat clan. She had on a short-sleeved, purple shirt, black pants, and black ninja sandals along with the Uzushio headband. Her hair had grown out and was now done in a braid that reached to her waist. Strapped to each of her sides were metal claws that she could slip over her hands. Each one had 3 razor-sharp claws and were pitch black. Yugao was dressed in all black with a short-sleeved t-shirt, pants, and ninja sandals. The only color she had on was the red headband and the red Jonin flak jacket she wore over her clothes. "We are here for a mission, Uzukage-sama," Yugao said, bowing to her cage with her 3 genin copying her actions. "Just in time, Yugao. We just had a woman and her son come in by the name of Tsunami and Inari from Wave Country. Her country is under control by a man named Gato, owner of Gato Shipping Company. Her father is a bridge builder and is working on a bridge that will open trade routes to their town. She said her father went off a couple days ago to hire some help, but she didn't know if he would get enough or be able to afford it." "What is our mission, Kushina-sama?" Yugito asked. "You are to protect the bridge builder's family and help finish the bridge. During the time you are in Wave, find Gato and take him out. Raid his place and take the money to pay for this mission and give the rest back to Wave Country. Be at the gate in an hour and I will have Tsunami and her son meet you there." Kushina said as the 4 bowed before they vanished in a shunshin. Hiruzen sat at his desk dealing with paperwork after just sending Team 7 on their first C-rank mission. Ever since their Jinchuriki had escaped, they had to work harder to prove they were still the strongest village in the elemental nations. It also didn't help that Kushina was gone as well, which sunk their plans of breeding strong ninja for the Leaf Village. Even with all their tracking and Anbu teams, they still couldn't find Kushina or Naruto anywhere in the nation. Then to top it all off, he receives word that the destroyed Whirlpool village was rebuilt and was quickly becoming one of the strongest villages in the nation, and they had no way of getting information about the village. As Hiruzen continued his paperwork, a knock at the window alerted him to the presence of one of his students. Turning around in his chair, he saw the Toad Sage Jiraiya. "Have you been able to find either of the Uzumaki or get any information of Uzushio?" Hiruzen asked. "I'm afraid not, sensei. I have looked all over the elemental nations and can't find either one of them. I got word that on the same night Naruto and Kushina disappeared, Kumo and Taki both found their Jinchuriki to be missing as well. Kumo still has the 8 tails, but the 2 tails is gone. It could be the work of the Akatsuki." Jiraiya explained. "I don't know, but we need to find some way to get the power we once held back." Hiruzen said. Team Yugao along with Tsunami and Inari had been walking for close to 4 hours now after arriving back at the mainland from Uzushio. It had been relatively quiet and the silence was starting to bore the blonde male of the team. "Tsunami-san, may I ask you a question?" Naruto asked as he stepped back near the older woman. "Of course," Tsunami replied with a small smile. "What exactly is Wave Country like?" Naruto asked, wanting to know more about the land they were to free. "Wave used to be a happy and thriving place with happy citizens and very little crime. However, that changed when Gato showed up and took over the land. His thugs took most of what we owned, saying it was taxes for Gato allowing us to live on his land, and the people who tried to stand up to him were killed in front of everyone. My husband and Inari's stepfather was one of those people who were took from us when he tried to stand up for the people of Wave." Tsunami explained as a tear escaped from her eye as she remembered her husband. "My father has been trying to build a bridge from Wave Country to the main lands for some time now to open trade for us to better help support those in Wave. Right now there is only one entrance into Wave, and that is by sneaking past Gato's thugs. I hope my father can finish his bridge and help Wave, but at the same time I don't want to see him killed for going against Gato." Tsunami finished. "Don't worry, Tsunami-san, we will make sure your father is protected and gets the bridge done," Fu said with a cheery voice, causing Tsunami to smile. Kit, look up ahead. Looks like the Leaf Ninja are here. Kurama said with a smile. We are coming up on the boat that will get us back into wave now. Tsunami said as she pointed at a small boat setting in the water. As the group of ninjas looked to where she was pointing, Naruto couldn't help but let a smile grace his face. Looks like we get to have some fun on this mission. Naruto said, causing everyone to look at him. Naruto, don't start anything. I want to see the leaf burn as much as you do, but the mission comes first. Are you going to try and hide your identity for now? Yugao asked. I know that Yugao-sensei, and the mission will come first. And no, I'm not going to hide my identity. I am going to let them know I am still alive and that I managed to escape from a ninja village by walking right out their front gate. If they think they can force me back to the village, I would like to see them try. Judging by their chakra, that is Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, Sai is a member of Root, and their sensei is Kakashi Hatake. Naruto said as the group got closer to the boat. How do you know them, Naruto-kun? Yugito asked her fellow blonde. I gathered what information I could before I left the leaf and memorized a lot of the village's chakra signatures. The only one we will really have to worry about is the Jonin sensei, but Yugao sensei can handle him, especially with our backup. Naruto replied to his friend as Tsunami and Inari moved to talk with the older man that was with the leaf ninja. Kakashi looked over the new group of people before his eyes landed on Yugao and Naruto and the Uzushio Hitai 8. His eyes widened once he realized who he was looking at. He stepped forward and placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto Uzumaki, you are to return to the Leaf Village at once under orders of the Hokage. Kakashi said before he felt a blade press against his throat. I suggest you take your hand of my student before you lose your head, Kakashi. We are no longer members of the Leaf Village. We are members of Uzushio and answer only to the Uzukage. Now if you don't want to start a war with our village, I suggest you back away from my student. Yugao growled out as Kakashi glared at the two before backing away. Yugao sheathed her sword before turning to the three family members. You three take the boat with the Leaf Ninja team. My team will walk along next to it. Yugao said as her team stepped onto the water. Kakashi motioned his team onto the small boat with the civilians as he whispered to Sasuke and Sai. If either of you can weaken or capture the blonde male of the team, you will be rewarded extra once we return to the village. Use your Sharingan if you have to Sasuke and place him under a genjutsu. Kakashi said as Sasuke smirked and nodded while Sai just nodded. HHH. Half an hour later and the group of people were walking towards the small town where Tazuna and his family lived. As they were walking through a forested area, something was thrown from the trees at the group. Managing to get everyone out of the way, they all looked up to see Zabuza Momochi standing on the hilt of his sword. Yugao started to move forward but stopped when Kakashi stepped in front of her. Zabuza Momochi, demon of the hidden mist and one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Kakashi of the Sharingan, didn't think I would meet someone like you here. I don't want to have to fight you and the brats, so if you would just hand over the bridge builder, the rest of you can continue on your way. Zabuza replied. You aren't getting your hands on anyone, Zabuza. I will end this before you even have a chance to do anything. Kakashi said as he raised his headband to reveal a single Sharingan. Oh, this I got to see. Naruto said with a chuckle as he sat down on the ground to watch the fight. Do you not care about your teammates, Gaki? Zabuza asked. They are Leaf Ninja and I hate the leaf. As long as you don't bother these 6 here, Naruto said, pointing to his teammates and his sensei, then to the civilians. Then I have no problem with you. Hell, go ahead and kill them for all I care. Naruto finished as his team gathered around him with Tazuna and his family standing behind the entire team. Minus 15 minutes later. Naruto was laughing as he looked at the water prison Zabuza had Kakashi trapped in. That's what you call finishing things quickly. You barely lasted 10 minutes against him. And you team can't even get past a water clone at 10% of the original's power. Shut up, you blonde baka, like you or your team could do better. Sakura yelled at him, breathing hard and covered in small cuts and bruises. Naruto tilted his head back to look up at Yugao, who was standing behind him. Can we, sensei? Go ahead, just don't get in over your head, you three. Yugao replied as her genin moved towards Zabuza's water clone. Kiyomi, if you don't want to fight, you may want to return home for now. Naruto said as he pulled his hood down and Kiyomi vanished in a puff of smoke. What do you three expect to be able to do? Zabuza asked in a mocking tone. Just kick your a bit. We are the three strongest genin Uzushio has and was personally trained by our Uzukage. You should know her Zabuza, I believe you met the Red Death on the battlefield once before. Naruto said with smile as Zabuza went a bit pale. This will be more fun than I thought it would if you were really trained by the Red Death. Zabuza said with a smile after a few moments of silence. Naruto, Yugito, and Fu stepped up towards Zabuza as the two females drew their weapons. Naruto created a single shadow clone and the clone pulled the sheathed blade from his back and gripped the sword in a reverse grip. After a few moments of silence, the clone launched forward at blurring speeds. Uzumaki One Sword Style. Lion's Song. The clone shouted as he unsheathed his blade and went for Zabuza's neck. Only the experience that Zabuza had as an older ninja allowed him to bring the Kubikiribocho up to block the decapitating slice. You actually managed to block my attack, not bad Zabuza. I won't be so easy to defeat even if I am just a clone. Zabuza's water clone responded with a smirk under his face wrappings. Oh I know, I just needed to get your hands preoccupied. The clone replied with a large smile. Fire style. Fire dragon jutsu. The original shouted as a large dragon of fire was shot from his mouth. Zabuza quickly jumped back as the jutsu consumed the clone and continued for him. Quickly making a set of hand signs, a wall of water rose up around him as steam settled over the area. Yugito burst out of the steam, striking at Zabuza with her metal claws. Her right claw pierced into his left shoulder before she dropped to her left hand, yanking the claw free from Zabuza's body, and delivered a kick to the chin that sent him into the air. Fu appeared above him with a pair of green glowing wings and her twin blades ready to slice. Fu spun in the air as Zabuza neared her as she sliced the clone multiple times before stopping. The clone burst from the damage as the water fell back to the earth. The original Zabuza was too distracted by the three genin to notice Yugao moving toward him. Yugao ran toward Zabuza and kicked him in the side, sending him rolling across the water and back to land as Kakashi fell into the water. Yugao quickly drew her katana and rushed at Zabuza intending to pierce him. Zabuza picked up his large blade and turned to block the sword of Yugao's as it neared his heart. Zabuza pushed Yugao back before standing and holding his blade out in front of him. Thought you all didn't care about the Leaf Ninja? Zabuza asked. We don't. Like Naruto said, they can die here and now for all we care. The only reason we are attacking you is because you are a threat to Tsunami and her family. It is our mission to protect her family, and if that means killing you to do so, then that is what we will do. Yugao replied as she once again rushed Zabuza. The sound of metal clashing against metal could be heard throughout the area. Zabuza and Yugao battled in a deadly dance of swordsmanship as the two traded blows. Every time Zabuza went to strike Yugao, she would block the attack and launch one of her own. She would then launch her own attack only to have Zabuza do the same to her. For nearly 20 minutes the two crossed blades until Yugao used her flexibility to move around one of Zabuza's strikes and slash him from the right shoulder to his left hip as he flew back into a tree. As Yugao moved forward to finish the kill, three Senbon planted themselves into Zabuza's neck, killing the man. A hunter ninja appeared and thanked the group for weakening Zabuza so he could finally put an end to the man before he took the body and disappeared. You noticed that the hunter nin was lying right, Kit? Kurama asked his host. I sensed it as well. Looks like Zabuza will be back for round 2 sooner or later. Naruto replied before Team Yugao started walking off with Tsunami, Inari, and Tazuna towards the civilians' home, leaving Team 7 to stare at them as they went. It had been 4 days since Team Yugao arrived in Wave Country on their mission. Over the course of the 4 days, the team had gotten in some training while helping Tazuna work on his bridge that was nearing completion. Naruto, Yugito, and Fu had their summons out gathering any information on Gato and his thugs so they could plan the best time to strike Gato's mansion and kill the man. What time Naruto and his team weren't gathering information, they were dealing with the pain in that was Team 7. The 4-leaf ninja had been trying not stop to talk Naruto into returning to the Leaf Village. They tried to bribe him with promising him power, money, and even putting him into the CRA to rebuild his clan. Naruto simply ignored all of their attempts to get him to return to Konoha, but the Leaf Ninja were quickly becoming more and more annoying. Currently, Naruto was standing in the living room with his team as they went over the information they had gathered so far on Gato. Suddenly the door was opened and then slammed shut as Sasuke walked in from outside and grabbed Naruto by the collar of his shirt and pushed him against the wall. Yugao started to move towards the Uchiha but stopped as Naruto raised his hand and waved her off. Naruto looked into Sasuke's eyes as the Uchiha tried to put him under a genjutsu as his Sharingan activated. Naruto let out a small chuckle before the Uchiha spoke. What the hell is so funny? You are going to listen to my orders and return to the Leaf Village with us. Sasuke said as Naruto looked towards Fu. Fu-chan, will you open the door for me please? Naruto said as the mint-haired girl moved to the door and held it open. Naruto then looked back to Sasuke before bringing his knee up into Sasuke's gut. The Uchiha stumbled back a bit before Naruto kicked him in the center of the chest, sending him flying out the door and rolling across the ground as Naruto and his team followed him out. I will return to the Leaf Village only if you can beat me in a fight, Uchiha. Naruto said as he stood in front of Sasuke. The Uchiha stood up before glaring at the blonde across from him just as the rest of Team 7 walked into the yard. I am an Uchiha, an elite of the Leaf Village. There is no way you can beat me, especially with my Sharingan. Your Sharingan is useless against me. I can't be placed in a genjutsu. Naruto said as he had his own Sharingan active and hidden behind a small genjutsu. And if the Uchiha were so elite, where are they now? Oh, that's right, the whole clan of elites were taken out in a single night by one clan member. When it came to the elite of the Uchiha clan, there were very few. Madara, Shisui, Itachi, and Makoto were elites. You and the rest of the Uchiha were nothing compared to them. Naruto said as he smirked when Sasuke charged at him. The Uchiha ran forward with his fist pulled back. When he got close to the blonde, he threw a right hook at Naruto's face. Naruto stepped to the side avoiding the punch. Sasuke continued forward and fell to his hands as he brought his leg up towards Naruto's head, which was blocked by the blonde's raised arm. Naruto grabbed Sasuke's extended leg and flipped the Uchiha over his head and slammed him into the ground on his back. Sasuke stood back up as a growl escaped his lips and made a set of hand signs. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. Sasuke said as he launched a large fireball at the blonde as Naruto made his own hand signs. Water style. Water dragon jutsu. Naruto said as he launched a large water dragon from his mouth that flew into the fireball. The water dragon overpowered the fireball and launched at Sasuke, sending him bouncing along the ground once again. Once the Uchiha made it back to his feet, Naruto appeared in front of him and planted his fist into Sasuke's gut. The Uchiha bent over in pain as he coughed up a glob of blood as Naruto flipped onto his hands. The blonde Uzumaki started spinning on his hands as he kicked Sasuke multiple times in the head, chest, stomach, and ribs. When Naruto finished spinning, he hooked his foot around Sasuke's foot and pulled his leg out from under him, causing him to go airborne. Naruto immediately went into a double handstand position before pushing his arms up and planting both feet into Sasuke's chin, sending him higher into the air. Naruto appeared above the Uchiha as Naruto started flipping through the air. Naruto brought the heel of his foot down on Sasuke's head and sent the Uchiha flying head first into the ground. As Naruto landed, he started to walk towards Sasuke as the Uchiha struggled to get back to his feet. Naruto stood in front of Sasuke, staring him right in the eyes. You can't beat me, Uchiha, not now and not ever. Tell that bastard of a Hokage that the only way he is going to get me back is by dragging my lifeless body back himself. Naruto growled out as his foot shot up and the top of his foot rested behind Sasuke's head. With a final smirk, Naruto pulled the Uchiha's head down into the ground, knocking Sasuke out cold. As Naruto walked back to his teammates, a three-tailed fox as black as the night sky came out of the surrounding forest. Naruto-sama, now would be the best time for you and your team to go through with your plans. The target is at his mansion as we speak. The fox spoke loud enough just for Team Yugao to hear. Thank you, Hansho Midnight. I think you may return now. Naruto said as the fox bowed before leaving in a poof of smoke. Are we going, sensei? Naruto asked, turning to Yugao. Gather your equipment, We leave in 5 minutes. Yugao replied, getting nods from her genin as the team disappeared. Kakashi-sensei, how come Sasuke-kun couldn't dodge those strikes even with his Sharingan? The pink-haired genin asked her sensei as he picked Sasuke up. The Sharingan allows the wielder to predict the movement of the opponent they are facing, but they need the physical ability to dodge the attack. Naruto was moving too fast for Sasuke to keep up with and therefore resulted in Sasuke losing. I will need to train him more before he tries to fight the blonde again. Kakashi replied, taking Sasuke inside. HHH. Team Yugao landed in a tree next to the mansion that Gato was currently in. Naruto closed his eyes as he let his senses spread out over the area. I don't sense Zabuza and his partner anywhere. There are 3 signatures at the top of the mansion and close to 150 throughout the 3 floors. Naruto said, looking to his sensei. You have already had your first kills, so this should be easier than last time. You 3 have excellent teamwork, so watch each other's backs when we get in there. Stick together and take them out quickly so we can finish this mission and get home. Yugao said, getting a nod from the 3 genin as all 4 disappeared in a shunshin. The door to Gato's mansion was blown off the hinges as Team Yugao busted through the front entrance. Yugao quickly drew her katana as she started slicing the thugs that rushed her. Every thug that managed to get within a foot of the purple-haired swordswoman was sliced by her blade and left to bleed to death or missing their head. Fu grew her chakra wings and took to the air thanks to the high ceilings of the mansion. She covered her teammates from the air by raining down kunai and shuriken or her explosive powder. Since the thugs couldn't reach the mint-haired girl, they focused their attacks on the 2 blondes on the ground. Yugito sliced at the approaching thugs with her claws as she ran forward, leaving thugs with body parts missing or deep gashes on their bodies. Yugito fired her mouse hair balls at a group of approaching thugs, burning them alive before they could get too close. She ducked under a sword slice from a thug behind her who was quickly split in half by her blonde teammate. Naruto used his blade as cut down any thug that neared him or his female teammates. Covering his blade in wind chakra, Naruto sent a wave of air down the hallway, cutting through a group of thugs before kicking a thug beside him in the head hard enough to snap the man's neck. Naruto then jumped back as a light powder fell from above before it exploded, killing a group of men. Team Yugao continued this as they made their way to Gato's office. Yugao sliced through the large wooden door as her team rushed into Gato's office. They found Gato sitting calmly behind his desk with 2 men who looked like samurai guarding him. You 4 have made quite a mess of my home and hired help. Now you 4 need to pay up for what you have done. Zori, Waraji, kill the male and keep the females alive. You 2 can have your fun with them before we sell them off. Gato said with a smirk, and his 2 guards drew their blades. Only Yugao noticed Naruto's hand clench around his katana's grip. She was going to defend her genin but knew that Naruto could handle. She decided to let the only male of her team do this his way, since no one ever seemed to walk away from Naruto without some sort of damage if they insulted someone he cared about. Naruto let his Sharingan spin to life as he looked up at the guard with an eye patch. Burn in hell, Amaterasu, Naruto said as the man was engulfed in black flames as they burned him alive. Naruto then turned to the remaining guard who had a look of shock on his face from seeing his partner die so easily. Zori, snap out of it and kill the kid, Gato shouted with a look of fear on his face. Zori unsheathed his blade and rushed at Naruto. Naruto held his blade to his side for a moment before he jumped into the air as the rushing guard. Gripping the katana with both hands, Naruto brought the blade down on Zori and cut through the blocking blade as well as Zori's body. Uzumaki one sword style. Great Dragon Shock. As the lifeless body fell to the floor, Team Yugao moved closer to Gato. Stop. I'll give you anything you want. Money, alcohol, anything, just name it and it's yours. Gato pleaded. You threatened to kill me, rape my sensei and my girls, and then sell them off. Naruto said, not noticing he said my girls, which caused the other 2 Jinchuriki to blush. Where is all your money? Naruto asked, causing Gato to scramble to his feet and rush to a large picture on the wall. Gato moved the picture and quickly unlocked the safe, revealing large stacks of money. Is this all of it? Naruto asked, glaring at the shaking man. Yes, I swear this is all of it. I always keep my money close. Gato replied. Naruto smirked before quickly cutting the man's head from his shoulders. After cleaning the blood from his blade, Naruto turned to see his fellow Jinchuriki looking at him with a blush and his sensei had a smirk on her face. Naruto was trying to figure out what was going on when Kurama told him what he had said and the blonde blushed as well. Come on you two, let's count this money and get what's owed to us for the mission before giving the rest back to Wave. Naruto, send one of your summons back to Kushina-sama and tell her that you and your girls will be home in a few hours. Yugao said with a small chuckle as the three genin blushed even more. What about Zabuza and his partner Sensei? Yugito asked. Yugao was quite in thought for a minute before she spoke. Naruto, can you send one of your foxes who is good at tracking and have them find Zabuza's hideout? Zabuza is a master at the silent killing and has amazing kenjutsu. We could offer him and his partner a village to go to so they won't have to constantly be on the run. Naruto nodded in reply before moving outside to summon his foxes. On the way, he was having a conversation with the large fox sealed inside him. Why did I say that, Kurama? I have never claimed them as mine before like that. It's because you have me sealed inside of you, Kit. I have talked with Matabi and Chome as well and they said the same thing is happening with Fu and Yugito. My siblings and I are immortal chakra beings. When we find someone we care for, we get this urge to protect them no matter what and keep everyone else away from our mates. This urge is being passed on from me to you, just like it is with the other two and my siblings. When we mate for life. This is happening to you three now. You three care for each other to the point that you don't want anyone else to be with them or hurt them in any way. Kurama explained to the blonde. Has this ever happened to you? And how am I supposed to choose one over the other? Naruto asked as he made it outside. Yes, this happened to me when I first found my mate and she became the queen of the Fox clan. And as for choosing, the choice is simple. Take them both as your mates. You have noticed how they act around you and give each other jealousy-filled glares when you spend more time with one over the other. They both care for you and you care for them. So the choice is simple, just take them both as your mates and let them share you. Having multiple partners has never been looked down on with the humans anyways. Kurama replied before cutting the link as Naruto thought it over and summoned his foxes. Kushina was having a good day so far. She had just gotten word from one of Naruto's fox summons that the mission was completed. They would be on their way back to the village in just a few hours after giving Wave back the money Gato took and leaving some clones to help Tazuna finish the bridge. Not only was the mission completed faster than she was expecting, but one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist might be joining the village. She had just finished up the last of her paperwork with some shadow clones and was ready to relax when a knock was heard on her office door. After telling her assistant to enter, the door opened to reveal a woman that looked about 20 years old. She had long black hair and was wearing a red skirt with a white shirt. Kushina-sama, someone is here to see you. He didn't give a name but said it was very important to speak with you and that he is the Otokage. The woman said. Kushina was guard even though she had her guards around her and could easily protect herself if she needed to. This person claimed to be the Kage of a village that just recently appeared in the elemental countries. Making a quick set of hand signs to let her guards know to be on guard, she looked back to the woman. Go ahead and send him in, Mickey. Kushina replied, getting a bow form the woman before she left. A few moments later and the door opened to reveal a person that stood almost 6 foot tall. They had on a white haori with a purple full-length kimono tied shut by a purple sash. His hat was all purple except for small section in the front middle that had the kanji for Otokage. Kushina stood and bowed to the man as she motioned to a chair. Please Otokage Dono, have a seat. Kushina said as the man bowed before sitting down. What can I help you with today? It must be something important for you to come and see me personally. Kushina said, deciding to get straight to the point. Straight to the point as always, Kushina. The man said as he reached up and removed his hat, revealing his face for the Uzumaki to see. Orochimaru. What the hell are you doing here? Kushina asked as waited for his answer before deciding to attack the man or not. I simply came to ask for help. I thought it would be better to talk cage to cage, especially with what I am needing help for. Orochimaru replied. What do you need my help with? You are a Sanin and now even a cage. I have my own things I need to deal with. Kushina replied as Orochimaru simply smiled. I want the destruction of Konoha just as much as you and your son do. I watched Naruto when he was younger and saw the way he was treated before I left the village. With the spies I still had in Konoha, I found out that Naruto had left and taken his thought-to-be dead mother with him and that he was planning on destroying the village. We can work together to destroy the leaf. The only thing I want is the last Uchiha. Orochimaru explained. Kushina thought it over for a few minutes before speaking. Very well, Orochimaru. It seems we have a lot to talk about. HHH. Naruto and his team stood outside of the hideout that Zabuza and his partner was using. After the fox summon had tracked them down, it returned to the blonde and quickly led them to where they were now. Naruto had his eyes closed as he focused on sensing for chakra signatures. I can only sense two people in the building, sensei. It should only be Zabuza and the hunter Nin that was with him before. Naruto said, looking to Yugao. Alright, be on guard just in case they try something, but remember we aren't here to fight. Offer them the chance to join Uzushio, and if they agree they come with us. If they choose not to come, then we will simply let them go and return to the village. Yugao said as the three genin nodded. Yugao walked up to the front door and knocked on it with her team behind her. All four were prepared to fight just in case Zabuza or the hunter Nin tried anything. A few moments later, and a young girl with long black hair and brown eyes. Upon seeing the Uzu team, she quickly drew a couple senbon and prepared to strike. We aren't here to fight. We just want to speak with Zabuza and then we will be on our way. Yugao said, holding her hands up in front of her. Why should I trust you when you tried to kill Zabuza earlier this week? The girl asked, still on guard. Because during that time, you and Zabuza were hired by Gato to kill the bridge builder and his family. It was our mission to protect them. However, Gato is now dead, which means you and Zabuza are no longer employed by him, so we have no problem with either of you. Yugao replied, remembering the information on Zabuza that was in Gato's office about the missing Nin's employment. Before the girl could reply, a slightly bandaged Zabuza appeared beside her holding the Kubikiribocho. Let's hear them out, Haku. If Gato really is dead, then we no longer need to kill the old man. Zabuza said before turning to the purple-haired Jonin. What do you want? Come back to Uzushio with us and join our village. You both can quit running all the time and you won't have to constantly be looking over your shoulder for the other hunter ninja. We have already contacted Uzukage-sama and let her know we were going to try and bring you two back. If you don't want to return with us, then we will simply leave you be and not bother you anymore. Yugao explained, waiting for an answer. Zabuza looked to Haku, who had a look of hope on her face at finally being able to settle down somewhere. He, himself, had wanted to stop running for a long time now and settle down in a village that would accept him even with his past. Deciding he had nothing to lose and that this could be what he had been hoping for, he looked back to Yugao before speaking. Alright, we'll give it a try and see how things turn out. If it means I can keep Haku safe and not have to worry about the ninja that come after me anymore, then I'll do it. Zabuza said. Okay, pack your things then. We'll leave in 10 minutes. Yugao replied as her team prepared to travel back to Uzushio. What do you mean you couldn't bring back the Jinchuriki? Hiruzen asked with a glare at Kakashi. Team 7 had just returned from their mission to Wave Country. After giving the report on the mission, Kakashi dismissed his genin to talk with Hiruzen about Naruto. Naruto was in a genin team with two other girls and Yugao as their jonin sensei. We met them the same day we left here for the beginning of our mission. We tried everything to convince the Jinchuriki to return with us, but nothing was working. Sasuke even tried to place him under a genjutsu using his Sharingan, but he said that genjutsu had no effect on him. After nothing seemed to work, he and Sasuke had a small fight and Naruto won easily. Soon after, a three-tailed fox came straight to Naruto, so I am guessing he has a fox summons. I asked Pakun about it, but he didn't know anything and said that there are lands in the summon realm that the other summons avoid, so that may be where they are hiding. After that, I decided to just capture him and send him back with a clone of mine, but they never returned. Pakun and the others couldn't even track them down. Kakashi finished explaining. Damn it all. We need to get out Jinchuriki back, or at the very least find another one to take for ourselves. The Chunin exams start Friday, so we will need to watch and see if he shows up. If not, then I will send Jiraiya after information on the other Jinchuriki. Danzo is trying to locate one currently, but maybe another set of eyes will help. Go and prepare your team, Kakashi. The Hokage said, getting a bow from the Jonin before he vanished. After Kakashi left, Hiruzen flared his chakra and an Anbu appeared kneeling in front of him. Bear, bring me Inoichi Yamanaka immediately. Hi Hokage-sama. The Anbu replied in a swirl of leaves. A few minutes later and there was another swirl of leaves that revealed a tall blonde-haired man. You summoned for me Hokage-sama. Inoichi said with a bow. This Friday starts the Chunin exams here in Konoha. I am almost certain that our missing Jinchuriki will attend them. I want you to make contact with him and try to wipe his mind of anything and everything and implant new memories and make him loyal to Konoha. The Cage ordered. In order to be able to do that, I will need to make direct contact with the boy. What of the Kyuubi? Inoichi asked his leader. Minato was a seal expert himself. There will be no worry when it comes to the Kyuubi. Hiruzen replied. Very well, it will be done, sir. The blonde replied before bowing and leaving the office. Lizard, go and get me Danzo. Tell him I want to know how the search for the Six Tails is going. Hiruzen said before he felt a presence leave his office. Ka-chan, you can't honestly be willing to trust and work with Orochimaru. He will turn on us as soon as he can. Naruto said as he along with his remaining team members, Kiyomi who was resting on Kushina's desk, and Zabuza and Haku stood in front of Kushina. The team had been back for 4 days now and had been resting since. Kushina decided not to tell them of Orochimaru's visit till after they had rested. She had also tested Zabuza and Haku both to see where they were ranked. Zabuza had Jonin rank and Haku had Chunin. Not to go against your judgment, Kushina-sama, but I believe Naruto is right. I never met the man, but I have heard stories of the snake Sanin and none of them were very pleasant. Haku said from her spot next to Zabuza. I understand that and I don't trust Orochimaru at all. But we need his help. Uzushio may have come a long way since we rebuilt the village, but we still have less people here than Konoha does and our shinobi forces aren't what they used to be before Uzushio was wiped out in the first place. We will keep a close eye on Orochimaru, but right now we need his help. The Chunin exams start this Friday in Konoha. The Cage won't meet in Konoha for the finals for another month. During this month, Zabuza and Haku will accompany me to Iwa and Kumo to try and make an alliance before I join Team Yugao in Konoha for the finals. Kushina stated, getting nods from those present. I am only a Chunin, Kushina-sama, is it wise to have me as one of your guards? Haku asked. Your talent with the ice release and your amazing speed will take a lot of people by surprise. That will give you the upper hand in some fights and Zabuza and myself will be there as well. Kushina replied, getting a nod from the ice user. What about the Fuinjutsu users in the village, Ka-chan? Surely they could help us without needing Orochimaru. A small group of 3 of 4 Uzumaki were able to handle their own against a brigade of ninja. Naruto replied, causing Kushina to look at him again. We have 2 seal masters in the village right now, Naruto. That is you and myself. Yugao, Yugito, and Fu have come a long way since we started teaching them Fuinjutsu, but their Fuinjutsu is not battle ready yet. The only others users we have is the seal team that knows just enough to keep the seals around Uzushio working. Fuinjutsu is a very difficult art to learn and right now we don't have the numbers to be effective. Kushina replied that left no room for further argument. As the others were talking, Naruto and Kurama were having a mental conversation. You sense that, Kit? Kurama asked with a serious tone. Yeah, a large group of chakra signatures are just outside the north gate. 2 of them feel really familiar though. Naruto replied as he focused on the 2 signatures before his eyes widened in surprise. That's Itachi, there's no doubt about it. Naruto said, getting a nod from Kurama. Masuko, everything alright? Kushina asked, seeing her son's shocked expression, which caused Kiyomi to look to her master. Naruto unsealed his blade before moving towards the open window. Itachi is just outside the north gate with a large group of chakra signatures with him. Naruto replied before jumping out the window and heading for the gate. Kiyomi quickly followed after the blonde as she grew to stand about 4 feet tall. Before anyone else said anything, a tall black-haired man appeared in the room. Uzukage-sama, A large group of chakra is nearing the village. What are your orders? I will see to this personally. Make sure there are no others coming from anywhere else. Team Yugao, Zabuza, and Haku with me. Kushina said as the group jumped from the window and headed for the gate, unsealing her own blade as she went. Naruto ran through the village heading for the north gate with Kiyomi right behind him. How are we going to handle this, master? The fox asked. I plan on killing Itachi, and which will only leave Sasuke for me to deal with later. Hopefully the others with him won't be a problem. Stay back and keep an eye on his followers, and if they start to jump in, kill them. Ka-chan and the others will be here shortly. Naruto replied as he passed the gate. He followed the road up the hill before he stopped at the top. Looking down the other side, Naruto saw about 100 people all wearing black cloaks walking up the road. The one in front had a black cloak with red clouds and was wearing a straw hat. Stop right there, Itachi, Naruto said, causing all the people to stop and Itachi to look up at him. Itachi looked at Naruto for a few moments before speaking. Hello Naruto-kun. Been some time since we last saw each other. Cut the chit-chat, Itachi. If you are here to get the Kyuubi for the Akatsuki, then you will just end up dying. And even if you aren't here for the Kyuubi, I will still kill you and come one step closer to ridding myself of one of the biggest pains in the I have ever had. Naruto growled out as Kushina and the others landed behind him. I came to talk, Naruto. I came to ask the Uzukage to allow the remaining members of my clan to join Uzushio. Itachi replied, getting shocked looks from everyone. You killed off the clan all except Sasuke. Yugao said, eyeing the Uchiha. No, I didn't. I only killed the ones who were planning the coup and left Sasuke because he was too far corrupted by Toussaint. I took my mother and the others away from the village and hid them. They left blood clones so no one would expect anything. Itachi explained. I have few good memories of the Uchiha clan, Itachi, and most of those are only because of Makoto Ka-chan. Naruto replied. I understand that, Naruto, but the Uchiha I have with me don't hate you. Everyone here had helped you in some way when you were still in Konoha. Whether it be escaping from the mobs after you or even leaving you food and other things on your doorstep. Especially Ka-san, Itachi said as one of the cloaked figures stepped forward and removed their hood to reveal Makoto Uchiha. I'm sorry I couldn't do more for you, Naruto-kun, and that I left you in the village when we left. I wanted to take you with us that night, but everything happened so fast and we didn't have the time to get you. Makoto explained with a few tears in her eyes. I don't sense any lies from her. What about you, Kurama? Naruto asked. She is telling the truth, Kit. Plus with the Uchiha clan now in Uzushio, you will be closer to taking out the Leaf Village. Kurama replied. Naruto sealed his blade away and turned to his mother. I would like to catch up with Makoto Ka-chan, but we need to leave now or we will be late and I still don't trust them. Will you make sure none of them are going to try and attack me and explain to her about my eyes? Naruto asked so only Kushina heard him. Of course, Masuko. Stay safe and I will see you in a month. If I need to see you sooner, I will use the summoning seal you gave me. Kushina replied before Naruto hugged his mother and headed back to the village with his team and Kiyomi now on his head. Kushina watched her son and his team disappear back to the village before turning to the group behind her. Before I take you all to the village, I need to know two things. First, how did you know we would be here? A spy in the Akatsuki was keeping an eye on Naruto while he was in Konoha. One day when the spy returned to our base, he informed us that Naruto had left the village and had taken his thought-to-be dead mother with him. When I learned that and learned about Uzushio returning, I knew this was the only chance I had at finding my family a safe place to live. Itachi explained, getting a nod from Kushina. Second, are any of you still loyal to the Leaf in any way? Kushina asked as she watched them kneel before her. Why do you ask, Uzukage-sama? Makoto asked. I had to make sure because Naruto and I plan to destroy the Leaf and end the village for good. Let's go back to the village and I will explain more there. Kushina said before she flared her chakra. A man with a fiery red bird mask appeared. This was Phoenix, the leader of the Titans of Uzushio. Phoenix, escort this group of people to the residential district and find them some homes. Get Griffin and Chimera to help if need be. Kushina ordered as he did as he was told. Kushina turned to Itachi and Makoto. Come on, there is a lot that needs explaining. Naruto, Fu, and Yugito were walking through the streets of Konoha. Yugao had went to find them a place to stay during their time here. The Chunin exams started tomorrow and the team wanted to look around and gather as much information as they could on the other teams and Konoha in general. As they continued their walk, they could sense the eyes watching them from the shadows. I really hate being here, but it will be so much fun to burn this place to the ground. Naruto said just loud enough for his teammates to hear. I agree, Naruto-kun. Both Yugito and Fu said in unison as they saw the way some of the men were staring at them. As the group of three rounded a corner, Fu bumped into someone, causing them both to stumble. Fu went to apologize before she heard a growl and looked up. The person she bumped into was wearing a pair of brown pants with a gray hoodie that had the hood pulled up with a small white dog laying on the boy's head. He also had a red triangle marking under each eye. Naruto instantly recognized who the person was, Kiba Inuzuka. My apologizes. Fu said, not wanting to start anything with Konoha or its ninja just yet. Your apologizes aren't gonna cut it. I am the alpha around here and no one gets away with bumping into me and not paying for it. Kiba said, eyeing her body before a grin came to his face. How you come back with me? He said and reached for her hand. Naruto latched out and caught Kiba's hand and applied some pressure to his wrist. Back off before I show you what a true alpha is capable of. Naruto growled out as his eyes flashed crimson with the chakra of the Kyuubi. Fu could easily defend herself from the Inuzuka, but both Fu and Yugito enjoyed seeing Naruto being protective of them. Kiba stared at the blonde male for a moment before his eyes widened. There was only one person Kiba ever knew that had the whisker marks on his cheek, so the dead last returns at last. Let go and maybe I won't beat you too bad. Kiba said with a smirk as his canine companion growled at Naruto. A louder and deeper growl came from Naruto's hood, causing Akamaru to whine as Kiyomi stuck her head out. Keep quiet, mutt, or I will make you my personal chew toy. Kiyomi said. Naruto looked back at Kiba before pushing him away. Stay away from me and my girl's mutt. This is the only warning you get. Next time, I will tear your arm off and shove it up your. Naruto growled before he and his team walked off. I really hate not being able to do anything right now. Naruto said with some annoyance. I understand, Naruto-kun, but we need to wait till the exams start. Yugito replied as the group continued on their walk. As the group decided to turn and head back to where they could sense their sensei, they found themselves at a training ground standing in front of a tall blonde man. Inoichi Yamanaka, what may I do for you? Naruto asked, already having an idea what the man was trying as he signaled for Yugito and Fu not to do anything. I just wish to talk, Naruto. Inoichi said as he held out his hand for a handshake. That's a bunch of bullshit. You ready for some fun, Kurama? Naruto asked the large fox. If he tries anything with his clan jutsu, I will make sure he doesn't leave alive. Kurama answered with a malicious grin. Naruto reached forward to shake his hand and didn't bother trying to stop the Yamanaka from placing his hand onto his forehead. As soon as Inoichi placed his hand to Naruto's forehead, everything went black for both blondes. Mindscape. Inoichi walked through a large open field of grass. Inoichi was confused as soon as he entered Naruto's mind. He didn't think the Uzumaki brat was smart enough to change his mindscape to his own liking, and he still hadn't seen any sign of Naruto or even the Kyuubi. The Yamanaka clan head was currently looking for the area of Naruto's mind where all his memories and other things were held. The only thing he had found so far was a large forest, a few rivers and some random animals. As Inoichi kept walking, he was taken by surprise when a large red tail wrapped around him. He came face to face with the Kyuubi with Naruto sitting on the large fox's head. Welcome to Kurama's home, Inoichi. One thing you should know about this though, is that neither Kurama nor I like intruders here. Naruto said. How could you release the Kyuubi, Naruto? Now the beast is going to kill us all. Inoichi said with a bit of fear. For one, I didn't release him, we are just working together. For what, you may ask? Well, that would be the destruction of the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto said with a grin. Are you sure you should be saying all this to him, Kit? Kurama asked. I don't see the problem with it. It isn't like he will leave here alive anyway. Naruto replied. Inoichi smirked as he looked at the blonde and the fox. I am a Yamanaka, I can easily get out of here. That is where you are wrong, Inoichi. Naruto said as a red chakra surrounded the Yamanaka. From the moment you touch the kit, my chakra has been forcing its way into your body, killing you from the inside out. Very few people can stand the power of demonic chakra, and you are not one of them. Normally I would take my time in killing you, but we need to save all our energy for the next couple days in dealing with these exams. So goodbye, Kurama said as Inoichi killed by the demonic chakra. And good riddance, Naruto said as he faded from his mind. Real world. Naruto opened his eyes to find Inoichi lying face down in the dirt, not moving at all. The only thing that was different was that he was missing his shirt and the demonic chakra of Kurama had burnt a message in his back. Let's go, girls. We need to prepare for tomorrow. Naruto said as the three disappeared in a shunshin. HHH. A few hours later, and Hiruzen was standing over the dead form of Inoichi with his fist clenched in anger. He had just lost one of his best ninja and interrogators. Hiruzen was beyond pissed as he stared at the message in Inoichi's back. The leaf will burn and the streets will run red with my revenge. Naruto, Fu, and Yugito were walking down the street headed for the academy and the start of the Chunin exams. After their confrontation with Inoichi last night, the group had immediately went to the hotel they were staying at to go over their plans for the exams. As they walked in silence, Yugito decided to speak up and start a conversation. Who do you think Yugao-sensei is going to talk to today? The blonde female asked. Yugao had told her team last night that she had some friends before leaving Konoha and that she was going to try and get them to join Uzushio. Hard to tell. The only thing I do know is that it is someone who won't bad talk me. Yugao was always watching over me here in Konoha and never let anyone around who would hurt me when I was younger. I can only think of two people that could be, but we will just have to wait and see. Naruto replied, getting a nod from Yugito. Naruto-kun, up ahead. Fu said, causing Naruto to look up and see Kabuto. Orochimaru's spy made a slight hand motion before disappearing in a shunshin. Looks like Orochimaru's lapdog wants to talk. Naruto said with a sigh, learning of the silver-haired ninja from his mother. What about the Anbu that have been following us? Yugito asked. The three genin had noticed the hidden Anbu even before they left their hotel. Naruto smirked as he brought his hands up into a cross formation. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. The area was full of hundreds of Naruto's clones as some started transforming to look like his teammates. As the clones started vanishing in different directions, Naruto placed his hands on Yugito and Fu's shoulders and shunshine to Kabuto. What do you want, Kabuto? Naruto asked as the three appeared next to Orochimaru's spy. Just trying to give a bit of help. In order for me to get close enough to Sasuke for Orochimaru-sama, I am going to offer him information on the participants. We both know that Sasuke will more than likely ask for information on you. Do you want me to tell him the truth of your abilities or make things up to make it seem like you aren't a threat? Kabuto asked the blonde. You might be a good spy, Kabuto, but not even you or that snake know all of my abilities. Just make it to where the genin here will underestimate me and my team and we will handle the rest. Naruto replied before Team Yugao vanished. HHH. Team Yugao finally managed to reach the academy and had picked up an extra along the way. Kiyomi had summoned herself, stating that she would be by her master's side throughout the exams in case he needed her help. Naruto had the fox lying on his head with his hood pulled up to keep her hidden from the other ninja around. The team made their way up past the obvious genjutsu and to the third floor where the exam was held. As Naruto slid the door open and they walked in, all eyes were on them as killer intent was directed their way. This amount of KI was nothing compared to what they were used to. Especially when Kushina was in charge of their training and wanted them prepared for anything they may face. But the three wanted to get people to think they were weak, so the three walked to the back corner of the room and stood there waiting for the exams to start. Naruto had tuned everyone out until he saw Kabuto walk over to Sasuke's group. After Sasuke had asked for information on a boy named Gaara and himself, Naruto decided to pay a bit of attention. Naruto Uzumaki, genin of Uzushio. His sensei is Yugao Azuki and his teammates are Yugito Ni and Fu Shiraishi. Fu doesn't have a last name, so I gave her the last name of her Japanese voice actor. He has completed over 200 D rank, 50 C rank, and 1 C rank turned A rank mission. Little is known about his skills, but from what I have been able to gather, he has no talent for genjutsu, a few wind-style ninjutsu, and a basic form of taijutsu. Kabuto explained before he went on to talk about Gaara. Naruto looked to find the boy they were talking about and found a red-haired boy with a large gourd on his back and a crazed look on his face. As Naruto was looking the boy over, Kurama spoke up. "Kid, that kid has my youngest sibling sealed inside him. Shikaku the one-tailed raccoon. Shikaku has always drove his containers crazy, so keep an eye out for him. I am going to talk with Matabi and Chome and see if they figured it out yet." Kurama explained before going silent. "We need to watch out for the redhead. He has the one-tailed raccoon in him," Naruto said to his teammates before a large man in all black appeared. Naruto and his team stood outside of a large fenced-in forest. Naruto was glad the first part of the exams were over. The first part was a written test and Naruto was never any good with test even with help from his mother and teammates. Thankfully he had a friend sealed inside himself that happened to be a few hundred years old and was able to help him with the test. After the instructor finished explaining the rules for the second part of the exam, Naruto turned to his teammates. Making sure no one was watching, Naruto quickly made a shadow clone and the clone transformed into a fly before landing on Naruto's shoulder. "What are you doing, Naruto-kun?" Yugito asked her fellow blonde. "If we have to get an earth scroll to go with our heaven scroll, we need to know who has what scroll. The clone can watch as the scrolls are handed out and then we will be able to make a plan from there," Naruto said, getting a nod from the blonde. "The instructor keeps taking glances at you, Naruto-kun. You think she might be up to something?" Fu asked as the two blondes looked over at Anko. Anko stared at the blonde that she hadn't seen for quite some time. She doubted that the young blonde knew who she was, considering that he was always unconscious when she had saved him from the mobs. Anko never hated the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, she actually respected the Gaki for keeping the village safe even if they didn't deserve it. Anko had always felt a bit protective over Naruto, much like an older sister did for their little brother. Both of them were treated like shit by the villagers, they were both alone, and both had to deal with their problems because of someone else. Anko was viewed as the second coming of Orochimaru ever since the hubby Tem abandoned her all those years ago. She had learned how to deal with the hate in the villagers, but Naruto was a young kid at the time and Anko found herself constantly trying to protect the kid. When she saw Naruto's team looking at her, she quickly looked away. "No, I don't think she will try anything. I don't sense any negative emotions coming from her, so we are fine for now," Naruto said before his disguised clone took off, got ready for the start of the second part of the exam. Half an hour later, as the teams were rushing into the forest as Naruto went through the memories of his clone. Tsuchikage-sama, I'm sorry for the interruption, but you have a visitor," a female voice said, causing Onoki to look up at his secretary. Onoki was short, old man with a triangular beard and a mustache with angular corners, a big red nose and thick eyebrows. The top of his head is completely bald, although he has long white hair on the lower half of his head which is styled in a traditional Chanmage haircut, the back of which is tied with a yellow ribbon into a topknot. Onoki wears a green and yellow coat with a red collar. Underneath he wore the traditional Iwagakure outfit consistent of a light green version of Iwagakure's flak jacket and mesh armor. "Who is it?" Onoki asked before looking over to the other person in the room with him, the Raikage. I was a dark-skinned man with a large muscular build, with white hair combed back, and a small mustache and goatee. He wore a white haori without a shirt underneath, black pants, shin guards, and shinobi sandals. He wore a large, golden vambrace on each wrist and a gold belt with a boar's head. "She says she is the Uzukage and the matter is very important," replied the secretary, causing Onoki and I to go wide-eyed. Last time they heard, Uzu was wiped out by Iwa and Kumo years ago. "Stay on guard and do not hesitate to attack on my signal," the Kage said to his hidden guards before looking to the woman waiting at the door. "Send her in," he said as the secretary bowed and left. "Wasn't Uzushio completely wiped out by our nations years ago?" Onoki asked. "Yeah, and if this Uzukage is a true Uzumaki, then that may cause problems," I replied. A few moments later and a figure walked in wearing the traditional cage robes with the Uzumaki swirl on the cage hat. The only other thing he noticed was the flowing red hair that fell from underneath the hat. Behind the cage were two other people whom Onoki realized must be her guards. The first was easily recognizable, especially with the kubikiribocho strapped to his back. The second was a shorter female from what he could tell by the form of her body. She had a light blue kimono that extended to about mid-thigh with black pants underneath. She had on a white face mask that covered her entire face and had a snow flake on each cheek. All three bowed to the older cage as he stood and bowed to them. I am glad you decided to allow me to see you, Onoki-sama. Even I-sama is here. Kushina said as Onoki and I both eyed the female cage. May I ask your name, Uzukage Dono? Onoki replied, wanting to know who was rebuilding the hidden whirlpool village. Kushina reached up and took her hat off. When Onoki and I saw Kushina's face, their eyes almost popped out of their heads. Everyone had heard of the Red Death. She was a true master of kenjutsu and fuinjutsu, and she was both feared and respected because of that. How? I thought you were dead. No one has seen you around for years now. Onoki asked. I was in Konoha and forced into marriage with that bastard Minato. Kushina said, causing Onoki to go on guard. Don't worry, Onoki. Minato is dead and I have nothing to do with that village anymore. Then why are you here? I asked. I come seeking an alliance between our villages. I was going to ask Onoki first and then come and see you in Lightning Country, but since you are here, I can get this done with quicker than I thought. Kushina stated in a serious voice. Why would we ally our villages with yours? Replied the Tsuchikage. I was forced into marriage by Konoha and Minato. After the Kyuubi attack, my son was made the next Jinchuriki to keep Konoha strong. I was put in a medical coma to be used as a breeding stock and my son was treated like shit. We left Konoha and rebuilt Uzushio and plan on destroying Konoha once and for all. All they want is to gain power and then try to take over the other villages. Accept the alliance and we can be rid of a common enemy. Kushina explained. Iwa is still not strong enough to go to war. Minato killed off most of my ninja and we are still training more. Even if we were to agree to the alliance, I would not be able to send much help at the moment. Replied the short cage. My village isn't helped to help either. The Akatsuki have attacked a couple times already trying to get the eight-tailed Jinchuriki and the village has suffered because of it. We are unsure of when they will attack next. I even left my strongest guards at the village just in case an attack happened while I am gone. Explained the Raikage. I thought you had two Jinchuriki. Kushina asked, wanting to know how he felt about losing one of his Jinchuriki. We did, but the Jinchuriki for the two tails ran away a few years back. At first I only saw them as weapons. After Yugito left, I realized they were more like family to me. It was too late for me to do anything and now I just wish I knew if she was okay or not. I explained to the redhead. Yugito was the daughter of one of his closest friends and had become a Jinchuriki shortly after her birth. Yugito's parents had died during an attack to kill the demon. I had arrived just in time to save Yugito, but it was too late for her parents. They made him promise to take care of her and all he had seen her as was a weapon for the village. Shortly after she had disappeared did he finally realize how important she was to him. What if I could tell you she was doing fine and was happy? Kushina asked, knowing the Raikage wouldn't do anything that would seem like an act of war on her or her village. I just want to know if she is alive and happy. I won't force her back to Kumo because she deserves better than what I gave her. I replied. The night she left was the same night my son, myself, and a few others left the Leaf Village. It was also the same night that Taki's Jinchuriki left Taki as well. Both joined up with me and my son and we have rebuilt Uzushio. Uzushio, Iwa, and Kumo have never been on even terms with one another, so let's change that. Join the alliance and we can take out Konoha before they can get any more power than they already have and cause damage to either of our villages. If either of you need help, Uzushio will be there to help. Kushina said, really hoping they would accept. I and Onoki looked to each other and shared a silent conversation before both shook their heads. I am sorry, Kushina-sama, but our villages would be unable to assist you in anything you are trying to do right now. Onoki said. I understand that, Onoki, and in all honesty, I expected this answer. Currently, the Chunin exams are taking place in Konoha. Naruto, Yugito, and Fu are taking the exams and are gathering information on Konoha and its ninja during these exams. Orochimaru came to me a few days ago and asked me to help him destroy Konoha, which I agreed to. However, I don't trust Orochimaru and I am not planning on helping him too much. The only ninja from Uzushio that will be there is myself along with my two guards here, Naruto, Fu, and Yugito along with their sensei. I will allow Orochimaru and Konoha to go at each other while trying to find anyone that wants to leave either Oto or Konoha and take them to Uzushio with me. The only reason I agreed to help Orochimaru was so we could gain information on both villages. My village isn't what it used to be and I still need some time before we are ready to attack Konoha. So once again I ask you, will you both join an alliance with Uzushio? Kushina explained to the two men before asking her question. Both men thought it over for a few moments before looking to each other, then back to Kushina and nodded their heads. Why don't you two make yourselves comfortable? You may be here for a while. Onoki said to Zabuza and Haku before turning back to Kushina. Team Yugao was currently hopping through the trees headed for the tower. They had managed to ambush a team from AIM and luckily for them, the AIM team had an earth scroll. After getting the scroll, the team quickly took off for the tower. Naruto stopped on a tree branch and made his way to the forest floor as his teammates followed. What is it, Naruto-kun? Fu asked once they were on the ground. Let's rest here for a bit until night falls. The other teams should be finding places to rest for the night, and once they settle down, we can finish our trip to the tower hopefully without anyone stopping us. Naruto said as he received a nod from both girls. I'll go out and get us something to eat and be back in a little bit. Naruto said before jumping into the trees once again, knowing the girls could protect themselves for now. As the two girls went about setting up traps around their temporary camp, Yugito turned to Fu and spoke. Fu-chan, you remember what Kushina-sama told us, don't you? Yugito asked, getting a nod from the mint-haired girl as they both remembered that day. Opening parenthesis. Team Yugao had just returned from their most recent mission. It was a simple bandit camp that needed to be cleaned out and Yugao's team had finished it in just a few hours. As Yugao gave her report, she couldn't help the small smile that crept onto her face as she watched how closely the females were standing next to her son. She had noticed that the three had a really close relationship and could tell both girls had feelings for her son. She had tried her best to push them together a bit more, but nothing seemed to work. After Yugao finished her report, Kushina dismissed all but Fu and Yugito, including her hidden guards. What can we do for you, Kushina-sama? Fu asked as she was wondering what her cage needed. I am going to get straight to the point. You both have feelings for Naruto, don't you? Kushina said, causing the girls to blush. I thought so. Kushina said with a smile. My Masuko only ever knew the love from Yugao and the Ichiraku duo. Yugao and Ayame have always been like older sisters to him, and Tsuki has always been Naruto's grandfather figure. The love you two have for him he hasn't experienced yet. If you want him to notice your feelings, you may be better off just straight up telling him how you both feel. Kushina said as she looked at the two. You don't mind both of us having feelings for Naruto-kun? Yugito asked. Of course not. I see the both of you as daughters anyway, and Naruto needs some strong females to be there for him that are closer to his age. Myself, Yugao, and the others will always be there for him, but he needs someone closer to his age as well. And besides, I always wanted a lot of grandbabies to spoil, and with Naruto having both of you, that will give me more. Kushina said with a chuckle as she watched both girls blush a deep red. Naruto-kun still hasn't responded to anything we have tried or done. Maybe we should listen to Kushina-sama and just tell Naruto-kun how we feel. Replied the blonde. Would now really be the best time with everything going on? Fu asked. Why don't we wait till the month-long break between the second and third part of the exams, and if he doesn't do anything by then we can tell him. Fu said, getting a nod from the blonde as the two went back to work. With Naruto. Naruto was on his way back to the other two members of his team. He managed to find a few rabbits and large lizards and had them sealed away in a scroll. Before he took another step, he felt a large wave of chakra wash over the area. That was some really evil chakra. Naruto thought. That was Orochimaru, there's no doubt about it. Kurama replied. Naruto turned to the way he felt the chakra come from and headed in that direction. The snake seems to be moving pretty quick to get his prize. Let's see what he is up to. Naruto thought as he continued on. Anko stood atop the chain that surrounded the forest of death. It had been about 5 hours since the genin had entered for the second part of the exams and she could hear the screams of pain and the roars of the wild animals inside. She noticed 2 people land behind her, but didn't pay them much attention. She figured it was just one of the Hokage's Anbu checking in on the exams for their leader. What do you want? Anko asked without turning around. I want to talk Anko. Yugao replied, causing Anko to turn around with wide eyes to find Yugao and Hana. The 3 had always been close friends before Yugao just vanished from the village. What are you doing here, Yugao? We have orders to bring you in if we get the chance. Anko said, looking at Hana with a confused expression, wondering why she didn't try to subdue Yugao. The Leaf Village is going to be destroyed. You 2 were always my closest friends in the village and I don't want to see you get hurt. Come with us to Uzushio away from this power-hungry village. Yugao said, placing her hand near her blade in case the 2 attacked. She didn't want to kill her best friends, but she would if she had to. Konoha is the strongest village out of the big 5. How can a village that just recently been rebuilt hope to take down Konoha? Hana asked. Kushina-sama is talking with the cage of Iwa and Kumo and trying to get an alliance. She will then try to gain Kiri along with Suna and be able to take Konoha out for good. Yugao explained, watching their shocked faces. Kushina-sensei is alive? Hana and Anko asked in unison. Yes, Hiruzen was going to use her for a breeding machine for Konoha, but Naruto saved her and we left. You both helped me protect Naruto so many times before, from helping him heal to protecting him from mobs when I couldn't. She knows I am telling you this in hopes of you joining us and not having to be killed by one of her ninja or even her. There is one thing you should know, Anko. Yugao said, looking at her friend. And what is that? Anko asked. We are currently working with Orochimaru. Yugao said. Why the hell would she work with him? She never even trusted that man when he was in the village, and it only got worse after I joined her team and explained what he did. Anko shouted, confused by her old sensei. She doesn't trust him, Anko. She is planning on letting Orochimaru's village go at Konoha and then take them both out when they tire each other out. She is going to destroy both villages when they are weakened, replied Yugao. Anko and Hana both thought it over for a few minutes before Hana spoke. I will join Uzu. I love my family, but they have fallen just as far as the village has. I never wanted to stay here anyway, I just never had anywhere else to go. I'll join and hopefully get a chance to take Orochimaru out myself. Anko said, earning a nod from Yugao. Don't let anyone know of this and just act like normal. I will contact you both soon with more information. Yugao said before disappearing. HHH. Naruto sat on a high tree branch watching Orochimaru toy around with Team 7. He had been watching for about 10 minutes now. Sasuke and Sai were handling themselves pretty well considering they were up against a Sannin. Sakura wasn't doing anything since she was paralyzed by the killer intent that Orochimaru was giving off. After pushing Sasuke and Sai back once again, Orochimaru looked up at the blonde. What are you doing here, Naruto-kun? Asked the snake. Just watching. Naruto replied from his seat before he fell backwards to avoid a large black lion made of ink. He then quickly drew a kunai to block the strike from a Tonto that was headed for his legs. Naruto Uzumaki, I am to capture you and your teammates and return you to the leaf so they can extract the Biju and seal them in someone loyal to the leaf. Sai said, pushing against Naruto's kunai. Have fun trying. Naruto said as he jumped back away from Sai and put his kunai back in his pouch. I studied your fighting moves when you fought against Sasuke. You won't beat me with that fighting style. Sai replied, settling into his own stance. You may have seen a very small amount of my black leg style, but there is more to it than what I showed back in Wave. But I will use the strongest fighting style that I know just to end this quickly so I can continue with these exams. Naruto said as he let his body relax as he brought his fists up in front of him with his right foot out in front of his left. This is the fighting style that the Uzumaki were feared because of. This is the whirling fist. Naruto said as he shot forward at incredible speeds. Sai swung his blade at Naruto, but the blonde ducked underneath the swing before connecting with an uppercut to Sai's chin. Sai was sent flying up but spun in the air and landed on his feet on the bottom of the branch. Sai pulled his scroll open as he quickly began drawing on it. Super Beast Scroll. Sai shouted as 5 lions shot forward from the scroll headed for Naruto. Naruto focused his wind chakra into his hand as it took on the form of a chakram. Naruto threw the wind chakram at the incoming beasts and watched as it sliced through all 5. As the ink creatures were destroyed, Naruto finished his set of hand signs. Wind style. Air bullets. Naruto launched 3 large balls of air from his mouth as they flew at Sai. Sai jumped from his spot on the branch as the air bullets cut through a few trees before fading away. Sai threw a smoke bomb between him and Naruto as he made his way higher into the trees. He quickly drew a few more beasts as the creatures jumped from the scroll and launched at Naruto. The blonde jumped back just in time to avoid a paw swipe from a large panther, but was knocked back a few feet by a tiger that formed from the ink of the panther. As he jumped back, he gathered wind chakra into his right hand before pushing his hand forward. Gale Beast Palm. Naruto shouted as a large claw of wind sliced through Sai's ink creatures. Naruto rushed forward and launched a punch for Sai's face. Sai sidestepped the punch and swung his blade at Naruto's back. Naruto hopped over the blade and delivered a spinning kick to Sai's head, sending him flying into the tree trunk. Sai hit the tree with a groan of pain but immediately launched himself at the blonde. Sai went to punch Naruto's face, but the blonde grabbed his wrist before using his other hand to punch the elbow of the extended arm and broke the arm. Sai let out a scream of pain as this happened. The first scream was followed by a second as Naruto kicked his left knee, causing it to break with a loud snap. Naruto went for the killing blow but had to drop Sai in order to block the punch from Sakura, who had broken free from the effects of the Ki. Naruto grabbed both her arms and pulled her in close. "I am busy at the moment, so please off." Naruto growled before kicking the pink-haired genin in the gut, sending her crashing to the forest floor. Naruto then walked back over to Sai as Sai glared at him from his spot on the tree branch. "You won't win. Konoha will get the Kyuubi back and then destroy Uzushio and make sure it never returns," Sai said through clenched teeth. "Sure, the Kyuubi will be back in Konoha real soon. And when the Kyuubi returns, he will wreak havoc through this village and help destroy this place once and for all," Naruto replied with a smirk as his right leg was coated in fire. Naruto pulled his leg back and kicked Sai in the head, causing his head to fly from his shoulders and bounce to the ground. A moment later and Orochimaru appeared next to Naruto. "Did you have to kill him, Naruto-kun? I need Sasuke-kun in the finals so I can go through with my plans," Orochimaru said. "Don't worry about it. This village kisses his all the time. He will be in the finals, of that I have no doubt. Now if you will excuse me, I need to get back to my team," Naruto said before jumping through the trees. Naruto was walking through the halls of the tower in the middle of the forest of death. Team Yugao had made it to the tower late last night and learned the only other team to make it was the Suna team. There was still 3 days until the end of the second part of the exams. Naruto had spent the day training while Kiyomi was setting a few things up for him with the help of his shadow clones that Kiyomi had reverse summoned. As he walked towards his destination, he couldn't help but be a bit nervous at what he was about to do. "Calm down, Kit. Everything will be fine. You have feelings for them and they have feelings for you. Everything will work out," Kurama told his container. "I know, Kurama. This is the first time I have done anything like this. I am just nervous as all," replied the blonde as he made it to the room he and his team were using. Naruto opened the door and walked in to find Yugito sitting on one of the 3 beds in the room reading a scroll. When she heard the door open, she looked up to find Naruto looking a bit nervous. "What's wrong, Naruto-kun?" Yugito asked her fellow blonde as Fu walked in from the bathroom. "Nothing's wrong, Yugito-chan, just wondering if you two were busy," Naruto asked as the 2 females looked to each other confused. "No, we aren't busy. What do you need, Naruto-kun?" asked the mint-haired girl. "I was wondering if you two wanted to go out tonight," Naruto replied. Yugito and Fu looked to each other shocked. They didn't expect Naruto to notice their feelings as he hadn't seemed to notice any of the signs they had given him yet. "You mean like a date?" Fu asked, getting a nod from Naruto as both girls smiled. I know you two have feelings for me and I have feelings for the both of you as well. I really hope you don't mind sharing me because there is no way I can choose between you two. Naruto said as the two females walked over to him. We would love to Naruto-kun, but where are we going to go? We are in the middle of the forest. I already have everything planned out. If you just hold on to me we can be on our way. Naruto said as he held out his hands for his teammates. After he had a hold of both girls, he closed his eyes to focus on the bond he shared with Kiyomi. Kiyomi, everything is ready, right? Naruto asked. Hi, everything is ready and waiting on you and your mates. Would you like me to reverse summon you now? Replied his personal summon, getting a mental nod as the three disappeared in a poof of smoke. HHH. Thank you, Kiyomi. Return to the tower and I will contact you when we are ready to return. Naruto said as he unsealed some raw meat for Kiyomi from a seal on his wrist before the fox left. Yugito and Fu looked around the area they were at. They were surrounded by a small patch of trees that blocked each direction except the direction of the village. There was a blanket laid out with dishes, forks and spoons, and cups set out on the blanket. In the middle of this was a picnic basket with 2 roses sticking out of it. Naruto reached down and took the roses out before handing one to each girl. How did you set all this up, Naruto-kun? Yugito asked as she continued to look around. With the help of shadow clones and Kiyomi. This is one of the 3 places that I actually enjoyed in this village and where I felt safe. Naruto replied. Fu turned to the blonde before speaking. Why do you enjoy it here, Naruto-kun? Because no one ever came here other than me and Yugao-ne. I felt safe here from the villagers before I learned to defend myself. The only other places I ever felt safe was at Yugao-ne's house and with the Ichiraku duo. Naruto said before he took the girl's hand and led them from the trees. Plus the view from up here during a sunset is one of the most beautiful things I have seen. Naruto said as the 3 stopped just above the Hokage monument and looked out over the village as the sun began to set in the sky. The sun blanketed the village in a dark orange that made the village seem to glow. It was the only thing good about the village in any way. Come on, I know it isn't much of a first date, but let's enjoy the food. Naruto said as he led the girls back to the blanket. Naruto took the food out of the basket and passed it around. He had his clones make sandwiches, potato salad, and had them buy some fruit and cut it up for the picnic. This is fine for a first date, Naruto-kun. The next one you take us on will just have to be better. Yugito said with a smile as Fu nodded her head in agreement with Naruto, smiling at the two. The 3 enjoyed their time together as the sun set and the stars and moon shone brightly in the sky. Naruto sat leaned up against a tree with Yugito on his right side and Fu on his left as both girls were leaned up against him. They had been like that for about an hour now, just watching the stars. You two ready to go back? Naruto asked. When he didn't receive an answer, he looked down to find both females asleep with smiles on their faces. He made a seal-less clone as the clone picked Yugito up bridal style and Naruto shifted Fu around to be the same way in his arms. Kiyomi, go ahead and summon us back please. Naruto thought to his summon. A few moments later and they were back in their room. Naruto and his clone both laid Yugito and Fu down on their beds before the clone dispelled. Naruto gave Kiyomi another piece of meat for her help as he too lied down on his bed and Kiyomi curled up beside him. HHH. Team Yugao stood next to the sound team with Yugao and a disguised Orochimaru behind them and the Suna team standing a few feet away. The last few days had went by quickly as Team Yugao trained and spent time with each other. A sick-looking Chunin was explaining the rules of the prelims, but Naruto wasn't paying much attention as he was looking over the competition. Team 7 was glaring at him. Even with Sai being killed during the exams, Hiruzen still allowed Team 7 to participate in the exams. He looked over to Ino glaring at him and his team as well. At first he didn't know why she was glaring at him, but then he remembered he had killed her father earlier this week. Deciding to take precautions against Sasuke and Kakashi, Naruto unsealed some slips of paper from a scroll. Here, place these on the back of your hands and the seals will apply themselves. Naruto said as he handed Yugito and Fu a slip of paper as well as the Oto team. What do these do, Naruto-kun? I don't want my team being hindered in any way by you. Orochimaru said as he looked over the seal. They will block the Sharingan that Sasuke and Kakashi have, so any techniques we use won't be copied by them. Naruto replied before Orochimaru nodded and his team applied the seals. Naruto unsealed 3 more before putting his scroll away and walking over to the Suna team. Here, these will block the Sharingan from being able to copy your techniques. We are on the same side here, so I may as well help where I can. Naruto said as he knew that Orochimaru had gotten Suna to join the invasion thanks to the spies from the Fox clan. The Suna team applied the seals with Baki's permission before Naruto looked to Gaara. You have number 1 right. How do you know about the Shukaku? Temari asked as all 4 sand ninjas' eyes widened. Because I have number 9 sealed in me. Tell Shukaku that Kurama said not to cause any problems before the finals or Kurama will come to see him personally. Naruto said before walking off, knowing that Kurama could pull his siblings into their shared area. Would Kiba Inuzuka and Naruto Uzumaki come down please? Hayate said before Naruto and Kiba landed in front of him. Kiba let Akamaru out of his hood as Naruto stood there with his hand on the hilt of his blade as Hayate gave a quick rundown of the rules again before he jumped away and began the fight. Akamaru stayed still as Kiba rushed forward and punched Naruto in the gut, causing him to slide back a bit. What are you doing, Kit? Kurama asked, letting him think he stands a chance at beating me before I end him. Naruto replied as Kiba rushed him again as a clawed hand struck him across the face, leaving a few scratches on his cheek. Kiba then jumped in the air and kicked Naruto across the cheek, sending him back into the nearby wall with some blood coming from the corner of his mouth. Don't tell me this is all you got. I thought you would put up more of a fight than this. Kiba said as he rushed in and gave a flurry of quick punches and kicks to Naruto before jumping back. I guess I will just have to end this and then shows those 2 bitches who the real alpha is. Kiba said with a smirk. Naruto glared at Kiba as he stood up and walked away from the wall as cuts and bruises healed, shocking those in the area minus his team. I was gonna take my time and let you think you actually stood a chance against me. Now, I am just going to kill you and be done with it. Naruto said before Kiba rushed forward. As if you can. Kiba said as he threw a right hook at Naruto's face, only for his fist to be stopped by Naruto's hand before the Inuzuka was sent flying backwards from a kick to the gut. Naruto bit his thumb and smeared the blood over his summoning tattoo as Kiyomi appeared next to him. What may I do for you, master? Kiyomi asked. Get the mud and end it. Naruto replied as Kiyomi nodded before vanishing in a burst of speed. No one saw anything until they heard a whimper and looked over to see Kiyomi with her mouth at Akamaru's neck. Kiba looked up just in time to see the 2-tailed fox rip the dog's throat open before the dog went limp and Kiyomi reappeared by her master's side. Kiba watched Akamaru's lifeless body before rage overtook him and he growled at Naruto with tears in his eyes. I will kill you, he shouted. Before he could do anything though, Naruto and Kiyomi rushed forward. Naruto got right in front of Kiba before falling back onto his hands and kicking Kiba into the air. Kiyomi appeared above the genin as she was spinning and slammed her tails down on him, sending him flying back towards the ground. Naruto focused the wind chakra into his feet before he started running through the air, surprising everyone but his teammates. A few feet before he hit the floor, Naruto appeared beside him and kicked him towards the large stone hands at the back of the room. Kiyomi appeared below the boy as she head-butted him back into the air, with Naruto appearing below him running through hand signs. Water style. Piercing water bullets. Naruto shouted as he spit out 3 small globs of water that shot forward at insane speeds and shot through Kiba's arms and left leg. Naruto quickly made another set of signs before holding his right hand out at Kiba's falling form. Wind style. Jet stream impact. A large burst of wind shot from Naruto's palm and embedded Kiba into the ceiling. Naruto appeared next to him, using chakra to stick to the ceiling and pulled Kiba from his hole. You shouldn't have talked about my girls like that, Mutt. Now you pay with your life. Naruto just loud enough for Kiba to hear before Naruto dropped him and placed one hand on his blade's hilt and the other on the sheath. Uzumaki one sword style. Whirlpool decapitation. Naruto jumped from the ceiling as he unsheathed his blade and began to rotate in the air. As Naruto spun, his blade met Kiba's neck, separating the head from the rest of the body before it hit the floor. Naruto landed and sheathed his blade before he started walking off. It took a few moments before everyone was over their shock at watching their friend die. Kurenai and Hinata let out a scream for their teammate as started to jump over the railing but was stopped by Asuma. I'm sorry, but Kiba is gone. Asuma said as medics cleaned up the body and the Konoha ninja glared at the blonde. Why the hell couldn't I copy anything you did? Sasuke asked from across the room. I used a seal that makes the Sharingan completely useless against me and my teammates. Try all you want but nothing we use can be copied by either one of you two. Naruto said as he leaned against the wall with Fu and Yugito by his side. Kushina, Zabuza, and Haku were in a hurry as they were hopping through the trees. The month-long break between the second and third parts of the Chunin exams would be starting soon and she needed to be there to help train Yugao's team. As the three ninja jumped from the final tree and landed on the road to start sprinting, they stopped at the sight of a large group of people in red cloaks and had their faces covered by straw hats tipped downward. I had heard you rebuilt the village and became Uzukage. I always knew you would make a hell of a leader, Shina-chan. The male in front of the group spoke. Kushina's eyes were wide as could be. Only person had ever called her by that nickname and she hadn't seen him since she left Uzushio. Who are you? Only one person ever called me that and I haven't seen him in years. Kushina replied as Zabuza and Haku were ready to defend their cage at a moment's notice. The figure started laughing as he reached up and removed his straw hat to reveal a white face mask with the Uzumaki swirl on the cheeks. On the forehead was the kanji for Typhon. Kushina looked on with even more shock. That was the mask given to the true leader of the Titans, a person that was even stronger than Phoenix. Who are you and why to have that mask? Kushina asked as the man reached up to remove the mask. After he did, Kushina's eyes started to water with tears of happiness. The man had long red hair with part of it tied in a high ponytail, sharp face structure, and a slender frame that looked to be built for speed. He had violet eyes, an X-shaped scar on his left cheek, and looked to be in his early 30s. Kenshin! Kushina screamed as the man opened his arms as Kushina jumped into them. Zabuza and Haku watched their cage interact with this unknown man. They were both ready to attack at a moment's notice as they were both unsure if he meant Kushina any harm. Kushina-sama, are you sure you can trust this person? Zabuza asked as he looked the man over. He could feel the power coming from him and knew he had felt this power somewhere once before. Kushina and Kenshin looked over at Zabuza and Haku as Kenshin studied Zabuza for a moment longer. It's been a while, Zabuza. I haven't seen you since we last crossed blades. That was what? About 5 years ago? Kenshin asked with a grin. I don't remember crossing blades with you and I remember everyone I fight with Kenjutsu. Zabuza replied, trying to remember if had ever met this man before. Well, I did look a bit different back then. My hair was shorter and I didn't have this scar on my face then. Kenshin replied, pointing to his X-shaped scar. Maybe this will help remind you. Kenshin said as he reached inside his cloak before pulling out a wooden staff. Zabuza watched him carefully before his eyes widened when the top of the staff vanished to reveal a katana handle. Zabuza immediately remembered this man now as Zabuza bowed to Kenshin, surprising Haku and Kushina. Why are you bowing to him too, San? Haku asked her adoptive father. There are two people that the 7 ninja swordsmen respect more than anyone other than their cage and both of them are right here. Kushina-sama is able to hold her own against 3 of the 7 swordsmen at once. Kenshin Uzumaki, also known as the Crimson Blur, is strong enough to take on all 7 when he enters his combat mode. He is also said to be the only man alive that can match both the Raikage and the Yellow Flash in terms of pure speed. Zabuza explained, causing Kenshin to smirk. Exactly, so if wanted to kill any of you, you would already be dead. Not that I would want to kill my Imouto and her ninja anyway. Kenshin replied, shocking Zabuza and Haku. Wait, if you are older, then shouldn't you be caged since the Uzukage position was passed to the oldest child of the family? Zabuza asked, knowing a little of the history of Uzushio. That is true, but I never wanted to be Uzukage. I just wanted to protect my family and my village, so I took up training to become a Titan and protect Shina-chan and the village. After we were sent from Uzushio during its invasion, I searched everywhere for you, Imouto. Where were you? Kenshin asked, looking to his little sister. Kushina spent the next few minutes explaining what had happened. From her becoming the Jinchuriki to her forced marriage to Naruto saving her from the fate that waited for her. By the time Kushina was done, Kenshin's chakra was flaring around him like a raging storm. It all calmed down once Kushina placed a hand on his shoulder and explained her and Naruto's plan for Konoha. I would like to catch up more Ni-san, but I must get to Konoha. The second part of the Chunin exams should be ending and I still have a few hours travel to go. Take this to Phoenix and he can show you all to the new housing district and get you all settled in. I will be in Konoha for about a month and while I'm gone you will be in charge. Phoenix will understand once he reads everything. Kushina said, handing him a scroll after she was finished writing in it. Be careful little sis, Kenshin said as he hugged his sister before he and his group left and the other three continued their way to Konoha. HHH. Naruto stood leaning against the rail with Fu and Yugito on either side leaning against him. So far all the fights had been boring except for Gaara's. Naruto had watched that fight closely and knew he needed to help Gaara and fix the seal. He had seen signs of the Tanuki trying to take over Gaara's body during the whole fight. Maybe then Gaara could have a partnership like Team Yugao had with their Biju. The only four left to fight were Ino, Sakura, Yugito, and Fu. As long as Yugito and Fu didn't have to fight each other, he knew they both would make it. As Naruto waited for the screen to reveal the next two names, Hiruzen stood from his seat and gained everyone's attention. For the final four competitors, we are going to try an idea to see if it would work for future Chunin exams. The final four will be in a 2-on-2 fight with Ino and Sakura against Yugito and Fu. Hiruzen said as Ino and Sakura jumped to the ground below the viewing area. Yugito and Fu gave Naruto a kiss on the cheek before joining the other two genin. Are you not worried that your teammates will lose this fight? Dosu asked watching Naruto look over the four competitors. Not one bit. Yugito-chan and Fu-chan are stronger than both of those genin. Naruto said turning to the sound ninja. Orochimaru told you what we are and who our cage is, right? Naruto asked getting a nod. We were trained personally by the Red Death and Yugao-sensei. They won't lose. Yugito and Fu stood across from the blonde and Pinkett. Both Konoha genin were glaring daggers at the two Jinchuriki and were doing their best to intimidate them. That pathetic amount of killer intent won't affect us. We have felt much worse than that. Fu said with a happy smile waiting for the match to start. I don't care what it takes but you both will die here. Your teammate killed my dad. Ino said before Sakura started talking. And our teammate. We will kill you and so he knows what it is like to lose a teammate or someone he loves. Sakura finished. As soon as she was finished speaking, Yugito and Fu both turned serious as everyone felt their rise in power. Yugito's dark eyes changed color, her right eye turning a golden yellow and her left eye turning green. A blue flame also appeared circling around her wrists. Fu's eyes changed to a darker orange as a pair of green chakra wings appeared on her back. Naruto watched as this happened wondering why they were using this much power. It's because of my siblings being sealed inside them kit. Like you, both of them have had the same urge to be with you and protect you. They have had this urge for longer than you have and has made them feel closer to you now that you return their feelings. With what those two said about causing you pain, I have a feeling this will be a one-sided beatdown from the start. Kurama explained getting a nod from Naruto. So what's the plan Yugito-chan? Fu asked as she stood next to her teammate. Kill them. It will be less problems later and they won't get away with trying to cause Naruto-kun pain. Let's just end this quickly and get out of here. Yugito replied earning a nod from Fu as Hayate began the match. Fu rushed forward with Yugito following in line behind her. As Fu neared the two genin, she spread her wings and took to the air causing Ino and Sakura to follow her movement and look up forgetting about Yugito. Yugito charged in and buried a fist in each of their guts before back-flipping and kicking them in the chin sending them into the air where Fu was waiting. Fu grabbed both of them by the throat before smashing their heads together causing them to cry out in pain. Fu then let go as they fell back towards the ground before she tucked her wings in dove straight down while pulling out her daggers. She dove in between the two falling kunoichi as she sliced both of them across their sides as she passed. On the ground, Yugito just finished a set of hand signs as she held her hands out. Fire style. Mouse hairball. 4 small balls of blue fire shot from the fire around her wrists and formed into small mice. The mice then moved towards the two ninja. Ino and Sakura managed to push off each other and dodge the attack but was shocked when the fire balls changed direction. Two balls of flame each headed for Ino and Sakura and connected with their stomachs, causing a small explosion that launched them backwards and kicked up dust. Fu landed behind Yugito and stood back to back waiting for their opponents. From the dust came water bullets from Ino's side and earth bullets from Sakura's side. Fu coated her daggers in wind chakra, extending their reach and cut through the water bullets, dispersing them. Yugito quickly slid on her metal claws and coated them in lightning chakra and cut through the earth bullets, causing them to split around herself and her teammate. Sakura and Ino burst from the smoke and charged at the two Jinchuriki with kunai drawn. Fu reached back and grabbed Yugito's hand and waited for the two ninja to get closer. Right before Ino and Sakura could connect with their kunai, Fu took to the air, pulling Yugito along with her as Sakura and Ino crashed into each other. Fu and Yugito landed on the ceiling looking down at the two kunoichi. Shall we end this? Fu asked, looking to the blonde beside her. I guess. I was really hoping these two would be a bit of a challenge though. Yugito said as the two made a set of hand signs. Water style. Raging tidal waves. Lightning style. Critical overload. Fu and Yugito shouted in unison. Fu spewed a massive amount of water from her mouth that quickly surrounded the two genin still on the floor and raged around them. Yugito clapped her hands together as lightning shot from her hands and zapped the water, creating a bright light show. Everyone watching covered their eyes as the lights were too bright to look at as Ino and Sakura screamed in pain. After a couple moments, the screams stopped and the lights died down. When everyone looked back to the arena, they saw the charred and smoking bodies of Ino and Sakura lying on the ground, completely void of life. After the shock of losing two more genin to the Uzu team, the genin who passed were standing before Hiruzen. After a bit of explaining how things would work, the genin started drawing numbers. Gotta wait to see who fights who. HHH. Team Yugao sat in a large hotel room along with Kushina, Zabuza, and Haku, who had arrived about 2 hours ago. Naruto and his team had caught the three up on everything that had happened so far and at the moment was trying to figure out the best way for the three to train during the month. I will train Naruto-kun during the month-long break, as there are a few things I want to teach him that will help with when we attack Konoha. Yugao, Haku, and Zabuza can train Fu-chan. Both of you can teach her more kenjutsu and Haku will be able to help with her water ninjutsu. The only one I am having trouble with is Yugito-chan. Kushina explained. I might have someone who can help with that, Kushina-sama. Yugao said as there was a knock at the door. Yugao moved to the door before opening it and allowing the two females and the three dogs to enter. Everyone but Yugao and Kushina tensed at seeing them enter but was calmed when Kushina spoke. It has been quite some time, you two. I'm glad to see that you both are still alive. Kushina said as Hana and Anko moved toward Kushina before hugging the redhead. Can we trust them, Ka-chan? Naruto asked, getting a nod from his mother before Anko spoke. I helped take care of you when you were younger, Naruto. I always chased the mobs off when I found them beating on you and took you to Hana. She was the only one who would stitch you back up from the more serious wounds. Anko explained. After he confirmed that she wasn't lying thanks to Kurama, he relaxed along with Yugito and Fu. Yugito is very flexible and I think Anko would be able to help her fit that into her fighting style better, considering Anko uses the snake fighting style. Hana has a lightning affinity and can help Yugito with hers. Yugao explained, getting a nod from Kushina. Alright, everything seems to be in order then. We will have to use illusion seals for you two, that way no one will be able to detect you are helping us, and leave a blood clone to do whatever it is you normally do throughout the village. Tomorrow we will start training these three and prepare them for the finals and to take out Konoha. Kushina said, getting nods from the occupants of the room. A moment later a black fox rose from the shadows of the room before bowing to Naruto. Koga, what have you found? Naruto asked as the fox sat before speaking. From what I could find, the cage is dead. Orochimaru got into his office and killed him before taking up the disguise of the cage. I had a few other tracking foxes with me and we found the body buried in pieces in the middle of the desert. Explained the black three-tailed fox. Why did you have Koga searching around Suna Masuko? Kushina asked. Suna and Konoha are allies, so it just seemed off that the cage would try and destroy the Leaf Village. With the way Orochimaru was acting around the Suna team, I decided to have Koga look into the matter, and now we know why Suna is going along with this. You are free to go now, Koga. Naruto said, giving him a piece of meat before the fox vanished in a poof of smoke. Where did you get a summoning contract, Gaki? Anko asked the blonde Uzumaki. From the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi is the boss summons of the fox contract, and while he is sealed in me, his mate is leading the clan. Along with Yugito-chan having the demon cat and Fu-chan having the demon insect contracts. Naruto explained, shocking Anko and Hana, but they didn't think nothing of it since he was Kushina's son and their sensei was always shocking them. Before anyone else could say anything, a knock was heard at the door. Everyone in the room looked to each other before Naruto spoke. Was anyone else supposed to show up here tonight? Naruto asked, getting a shake of the heads from the others. Got anything, Kurama? Naruto mentally asked. There are two people here and they both seem scared. I don't sense any other emotions other than that, but be careful, Kit. Replied the large fox. Naruto unsealed a kunai before walking to the door with the kunai behind his back. Naruto opened the door to see two people. A man that looked to be about 25 in normal Jonin attire with his forehead covered, and a young girl that looked to be 11 maybe 12 years old wearing a light red sundress and a little hat that covered most of her forehead. What Naruto immediately took notice of was their eyes. They both had the pale eyes of Hyuga. Naruto tensed slightly, something that the man noticed before he spoke. I mean you no harm, Naruto-san, I was hoping that I could have a few minutes of your time. I am not here because of the Hyuga clan, I am here for a personal reason. The man said while bowing slightly. How do I know you aren't lying? Naruto asked, already knowing that he wasn't because of Kurama. If are friends with the fox like your mother was, then you know that I am not lying. The man replied, causing Naruto to grab him by his flak jacket and slam him against the wall of the room, shocking the man and the young girl with him. Naruto went to ask him how he knew about the fox or his mother, but was stopped by Kushina. Naruto, let him go. Ko is one of the few people that I actually trust from this village. She said as Naruto let go of Ko before the older Hyuga looked at Kushina in shock. Hello Ko, it is nice to see you again. Kushina said as Anko and Hana walked over to the Hyuga. Team Kushina is finally reunited at long last. Anko said with a big smile. I thought you died, sensei. Ko said as Kushina began to explain what all happened over the years. By the end, Ko was pissed at what Konoha had done. Who is the little one that you brought with you, Ko? Kushina asked, looking at the girl. To-san, are you sure we should be here? What if the clan finds out? The girl asked as she wrapped her arms around Ko's waist. This is Hanabi Hyuga, Hiashi and Hitomi's second daughter. Ko started to explain as he caught sight of Kushina's questioning look. Hiashi is a bastard and doesn't want anything to do with Hanabi-chan. After Hitomi-sama's death, which I believe was to be Hiashi's doing, the clan head refused to do anything with Hanabi. I raised her as my own and have taken care of her ever since she was a few months old. There was me, Hanabi, and Hinata, but Hiashi managed to sink his claws into Hinata and turned her into the heiress that he wanted. Ko explained to the group of people. What did you need me for? Naruto asked, wondering why a Hyuga was looking for him. I was supposed to watch over you while you were growing up. The elders saw me trying to help you and branded me with the caged bird seal even though I am a main branch member. When that didn't work, they found that I was caring for Hanabi and branded her as well. They threatened to kill her if I tried helping you in any way. They have even arranged to marry her off to the daimyo's son and she is to leave with him after the finals. I am sorry that I didn't help you, Naruto-san, but I needed to make sure my daughter was safe. I came to you hoping you would take the Hyuga children with you and get them away from here. Ko finished explaining. By the time he was done, all the ninjas in the room were pissed at hearing what had happened. I won't leave without To-san, no one can make me. Hanabi said, clinging tighter to her father. I promise I won't make you leave him, little one. Kushina said, getting shocked looks from her ninja. Hitomi was one of the few people that treated me nicely and we soon became extremely close friends, to the point we were more like sisters than anything. Let me see your seal please. Kushina said as she asked softly at the end. Hanabi slowly removed her hat to show the caged bird seal on her forehead. I can remove it but I won't be able to do it right now or else everyone will know something is going on. Take this seal and place it somewhere you can gather all those who want to leave. It is a teleportation seal and can't be detected by the Byakugan or Sharingan. It will gather chakra until the day of the finals when I will use it to transport you all to Uzushio. Just make sure everyone that is wanting to go in ready when the time comes. Head home so no one will expect anything and I will talk to you more later. After they were gone, Naruto looked to his mother. Why did you agree to bring them, Ka-chan? The Hyuga were just as bad as the Uchiha when it came to abusing me. I understand that, Masuko, and I will make sure they won't bother you anymore. But with the children, you can't really blame them for the mistakes of their parents or guardians. Hanabi isn't even old enough to have been a cause of your problems, Naruto-kun. And we both know you won't hurt the younger kids since they didn't cause you any problems. Kushina explained before turning and heading for her bedroom. We should all get some rest, tomorrow starts training. Sensei, before you go, could you remove my curse seal? I know you wasn't able to do so before, but could you now? Anko asked with a bit of hope. I will remove it once we get back to Uzushio, Anko-chan. Now everyone head home and we will meet here early in the morning. Kushina replied before stepping into her bedroom and closing the door. HHH. Naruto and Kushina were walking to one of the training grounds to start Naruto's training. Naruto had given one of his seals that stopped the Sharingan from copying your techniques to those who didn't have one just to be safe from prying eyes. The three genin would spend their month with their senseis and wouldn't see the others until the finals. What are we going to learn first, Ka-chan? Naruto asked as Kushina turned to face him. There are two things I want to teach you first and then we will move on to other stuff afterwards. The first is the Hiraishin and the second is the Rasengan. Kushina replied. Why should I learn that bastard's jutsu? Naruto asked with a scowl. The Rasengan is a powerful technique and I believe you can make it even better than Minato did. The Hiraishin is actually an Uzumaki jutsu. Mito tried teaching it to the first Hokage but he was unable to learn it. She then showed it to the second Hokage who seemed to be a natural with it and it was later learned by Minato when he went through the scrolls one brought with me from Uzushio. Kushina explained, getting a nod from her son. Alright, let's get started then. Naruto said with a smile at learning a clan jutsu.